Welcome to another episode of SandCity Sports. How's everybody doing? Hope your 4th of July weekend was good and festive. Let's go around and check and see how we're doing on our socials. IG is lined up. Yes, sir. Let's get the Facebook going on. Talk Summer League. Got some Major League Baseball to discuss. And the majors. Wimbledon. Check in. See how things are going on center court. Very good. X is good. A couple people tuned in. Appreciate you. Let's go ahead and make sure the YouTube is lined up. Yes, sir. We trust, but verify, folks. We got to trust. Nonetheless, there always must be that verification. Always. Twitch is good. All right. We're rocking and rolling. What's going on, Chris? Yes, that was a tough loss for USA in the Gold Cup versus Mexico. We will discuss. Let's get the volume straightened out here. It may be Sunday evening. Nonetheless, folks, we are still in 4th of July weekend. Whoa. No thanks. No, we don't need a drum roll. I got all these special effects here. Can kind of use. I didn't realize. The joke's on me. Hold on. Joke is on me. We'll use those as we need it. But you know what time it is, people. We're not joking around. We're not joking around. Let's get it. Another episode, folks. SandCity. We are to the business. I am your host, Cape Cod Kid. That artist we know is Andre. Thank you so much for your time and attention, SandCity. Come back here to bring you all the sports and current events, news, stories that you need to know. Come on in. Live here with your boy. You know we run it. We run our intro back. Going back to the Genesis, right? When it was all you go. Just out there with your NBA dreams, North Carolina and Duke aspirations have to maintain those. As you get into adulthood, you gotta hold tight. You have to hold on tight to your dreams, right? That's what we learned in Rocky. Okay? And over time, as they said, stronger and stronger. Okay? It's fortunate. We're gearing up for a men's league game on Tuesday. Second half of the season, team has to kick it into gear. Been playing progressively better, but staying in the loss column. Okay, and we learned from Bill Parcells. All the talk, all the hype, social media, IG, NIL, you are what your record says you are. That's who you are. That's what your team is, what your record says you are. And my men's league team, okay, we are at, we're in the basement. Appreciate you, Emmett. Yes, sir. Let me I'll shoot you the link. Thanks for let me get that link over to you, Emmett. You're welcome to rock with us per usual. Really enjoyed being on your show. Chris, same to you. You can it's up to you if you want to because Chris is already delivering storylines and narrative. Gonna talk about Team USA. Brought up Edgecombe versus Ace Bailey in the summer league. Edgecombe went off. Ace, okay, it's a little bit rocky. Also, the NBA has kind of spoken a bit about Omar Cooper being an assistant coach, which I had never a problem with, but he's no longer going to be a quote unquote assistant coach. That didn't bother me one way or the other. Okay, but we'll dive a little bit deeper in both of those. I'm big on Edgecombe, in the future for the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers are similar to my men's league team, basement. They're basement dwellers, right? And there's some of the same issues there. Vis-a-vis the Sixers, it's they can't be on the court. They just weren't on the court together, and so they had a wasted season. Which, okay, you get the number 3 overall pick. A part of that, I think they were in the march for Cooper. We're gonna talk about the march for Arch Manning as we get into July. I saw a statistic about Arch Manning, highest paid and rightfully so, college athlete. Arch Manning is my pick for the Heisman Trophy and the number 1 overall selection in the NFL draft. He's a player with just incredible role acceptance. We're going to talk preps tonight as well, because this is the recruitment period for all of the stars of tomorrow out there. This is when how do we say, this is the time where the Cooper flags establish themselves and people become Cooper Flag or AJ DeBansa, okay, or Cameron Boozer, who's going to be dominant next year. I'm giving AJ the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft, but Boozer, there's going to be a lot to be said for Boozer. We can't count him out and what Duke is going to do next year. So we will kind of get into those narratives. Let me go ahead and just shoot Emmett the link if he wants to jump in. As I said, Chris, mi casa, su casa. So it is what it is. You done already you a part of the team, however you wanna roll. But we'll go in order. I see a couple people out there in television land on the X. Much love. Much love. Let me just say here's the link. Oh, link sent. Okay, so let's start with hoops, and we'll move over to the World Cup loss for USA and World Cup, Gold Cup. Gold Cup loss for USA against Mexico. That would have been a good one to get going into the World Cup. Not that the United States is dominant. I go back, it's a couple years now. It's under 10 where the United States missed the Gold Cup, or they missed a big tournament here that United States we were hosting. It was going to be on Fox television. It was a big deal, and we just absolutely missed the tournament. Didn't even qualify. So that was a ginormous, the big blow, step back. Good. So Chris is asking, we'll talk Summer League, but Chris is again adding, the how do I want to say this? I haven't seen anything definitive. I haven't seen pictures. Chris is asking about Dame and the Celtics. Okay, he's asking about Dame and the Celtics, and that is percolating. That's percolating. Seen interest on both sides. Dame's people kind of put it out there. Tatum on social media has said, hey, holla at your boy. Dame time, come through. Then there's been, Chris, to your point about social media. We got to take everything with a grain of salt. Because I'm hearing let's get Dame and the Celtics up on the screen. I'm hearing foolishness on social media, and this is why you can't. That if Dame was to come here, he's gonna come on. He's gonna have to come off the bench for Peyton Pritchard. What are we doing here, folks? All due respect to Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard is there's a good chance he's with your boy right now in the Cape and Islands because this is where his fiance, now wife, family has a house here. So he's taking in all of this Cape Cod gloriousness. So there's a good chance I could see Peyton Pritchard when I go to a summer league game. He patronizes the local restaurants. He goes to the local barber shops. And the NBA Sixth Man of the Year, deservedly so. Due for a contract, due to get some of his money. But there's nonsense, they if Dame comes here, it's coming up. Stop that. Full well if Dame comes to Beantown, he's the starting point guard. And to Chris's point, it's in the ether because he got his money. So the Celtics can now, it's almost a situation, and I harbor my animus. I got to use that word. I have resentment. That's the word, resentment about how Jrue Holiday was treated and how the situation went down. No two ways about it. It did need to go down like that. And I've said it a number of times. All right, Cowherd's going to be here. He's going to be over on the islands. All right, not sure. Sounds about right. Okay. This is July, really, and then the 4th, particularly, it's gangbusters. The buddies of mine were talking about it in the fantasy league. I'm sweating out a baseball battle against my arch nemesis. I'm kicking myself because I didn't have my ace pitcher. I have Zach Wheeler. You know what time it is. We're trying to win this baseball championship. I got Zach Wheeler on my fantasy team. He's tried and true from the Phillies, number 7 overall rank. You know what time it is. And I was rushing on. We'll talk about IT. That's a little bit different for me. Chris, Isaiah Thomas. Yes, I know. But we'll get to that. But shout out, just a little quick. My fantasy team, we're battling it out right now. I lost out on a Zach Wheeler start, which was a win, a quality start. Like he just was lights out on Monday. I missed out on that start. He was lights out today. So, but in fantasy, like if you miss one, you kick yourself. Sometimes you can get away with not having your lineup set one day and you can just cruise. I'm in a knockdown, drag out battle. So that one win, and I'm going up against, one of the top trash talkers in the league. It's all fun and like it's a brotherhood. But that cost me a category. So I'm down 6-5, but I should have won that. But if it's in butts of candy and nuts, right? We'd all have a Merry Christmas. So Cowherd's coming to the Cape. Love it. I don't do like his Nantucket, just for people to understand. We're all dealing with it. We're not getting super political and economic right now or throughout the course. I'll say a little bit and you can say a little bit, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. It is a part of the culture. Okay. And SandCity, me, Casa Suka, I don't care who you voted for. You're welcome on SandCity Sports. That's how we get down. And this is my country. 'Tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Of thee I sing. So you have a right to have your political, religious, you know what I mean? Come, me, Casa, su Casa. And that's you know what I mean? We show, right? Because if you are religious, then you believe in higher things, right? Greater things, better things. And that should be evidence in how you conduct yourself. Same thing in the political. We get so deep into our echo chambers. I'm just like you. Okay. I forget just like but is that really evidencing citizenship, civic pride? Right? We gotta okay. So but what I'm getting at in all of that talk relative is that cost of living, we know everything's expensive, but when you bring up the Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, that's a little like everything is pricey. Hyannis Port, the Kennedy Compound, you're talking about millionaires, and now that word is almost outdated, right? Because millionaires is like 90s. Right now, you start with a B. You start, you start with the billionaires. Okay, and millionaire, okay, but we're talking billionaires. And Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, since time immemorial, are the, that's the creme de la creme over there, right? And so going back historically, and actually, uh, I'm just telling you, historically, going in the 90s when Clinton was president, he summered on Nantucket in the 90s. Obama had a house on Martha's Vineyard, right? Biden would go over to Nantucket for Thanksgiving. So just to kind of, so islands is, everybody got a little bread, but the islands is like the top of the top of the top of the pyramid. And actually, on that point, and again, whatever your politics, we're just talking here. We're Americans right now. Okay, that's just what it is. Okay, we vote for who we vote for. We have, what I mean. We have feel strongly about it, but at the end of the day, let's be good to one another and pull together as much as possible. JD Vance is going to be over on Nantucket at the end of July, at the end of this month, for for a fundraiser. $100,000 a plate. You want to hear what the vice president has to say. Put that 100 stacks down, just to walk in the door. You want to be on the committee? We need 250. You can be on a committee. Maybe we get you 250, please. All right. And over on the islands, that's just like, okay, what you need. You need what? Two? All right, I got you. No. I need, okay. I need more. I need to be close to this table. That's gonna be 500. Okay, well, we'll send a check. All right, I'll see you. We'll have my people to connect with your people, and all right, that's what we want to do. So that's how the islands are. Chris, man, you're speaking my language right now. You're speaking we're gonna get to all of this. But Chris is putting down Stephen King is the man. So I got to get Stephen King up on the screen because I saw the and we're bringing it back, talking specific. We're gonna bring it all the way back to sports. So never you worry, folks. But speaking of Stephen King and the Cape and Islands, I don't know specifically where he gets down, where he lays his head on it. I mean, I imagine he does. Emmett, I appreciate the repost very much. I sent the link out. Jump on if that works for you. I know what however. But I got to show people this because you mentioned Stephen King. Let me see if I can find it. See, I'm messing up now because what I can find it because I liked it because it was awesome. So much stuff. What did I do with it? All right, this is bad production. I thought I liked it, I didn't, but now it's on my mind. So I got to get it up here for you, Stephen. Oh, shoot. It's a loss, folks. We got to move on. I had a pic, and I didn't like it. It was a picture of Stephen King in the 70s. We can get a picture of Stephen King to kind of, I could have just Googled this because now I done said it. Should have just Googled it. Yep. Oh, it's on. It was on Facebook, so I can't. Because if I go on Facebook, then it messes up the algorithm. Hold on. Let me see if I can just pick. No, there we go. I got it. Facebook and IG are a little finicky when you because we're streaming, and then if you open up. All right, so now you can see what I'm talking about, folks. Stephen King is the man. I was and am afraid of this man to this day. The wonder of Audible. I have his book Audible, which I saw at Barnes and Noble. It's called On Writing, and it's just an autobiography. Stephen King is a sports nut, for those that don't know. He's a huge Red Sox fan. He's from Maine, from the North Country in Maine. And then just a little bit about that. I have friends that went to the University of Maine, played sports, did well for themselves. Actually, our youngsters here on the Cape, they're up in Maine right now for a football camp, already getting ready, for the football season. Our program is doing very well, and the whole community gets behind it. And it's something. It's a point of pride. So the youngsters are up in Maine for a football camp. Why do I say all this? The Shawshank Redemption is a 10. Let's get that out of the. Shawshank Redemption is a 10. That movie was based on the book written by one Mr. Stephen King, right? So it's set in Maine. He's from Maine. If you haven't seen it, right, in this world, this strange new world, I know I'm dating myself with it, but it's a 10. It's a classic film. And speaking of which, that's one of the things that kind of, we're talking about the culture now. Shawshank Redemption was shut out of the Oscars because that was 1994, an all-time year where the Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, and Forrest Gump were all up for the Oscars. And what they did that year, and I'm still not over it, even though it's 30 years ago, is they just gave everything to Forrest Gump. Tom Hanks got Best Actor. Robert Zemeckis got Best Director. They just gave everything to Forrest Gump. Now, Forrest Gump is out of this world. It's a great movie, stupid is as stupid does. I Was Running, Forrest Gump, but I think pound for pound, I think Shawshank Redemption is a better film. I'm sorry. You can let me know how you feel about that. In the scope of time, I favor, I think of Shawshank, Pulp Fiction, and Forrest Gump, all pound for pound, just very strong films, each one of those. For me, as I lean towards Shawshank. That I do. They're all, and the Oscars, they learn their lesson over time with that. You don't, when you have years like that, you don't give everything to one film if you have all films that are super duper strong. It happened recently, or not recently, but a couple years back, we had Dallas Buyers Club. If you haven't seen it, shout out to Matthew McConaughey. Shout out to Jared Leto. It's out of this world. We had 12 Years a Slave. You want to talk about docudramas of an all-time, right? Again, I don't care, your politics or your politics. Schindler's List is an incredible film. Saving Private Ryan is an incredible film. 12 Years a Slave is in that same conversation. These like real life docudramas, like take you back. You feel like you are there. So Dallas Buyers Club, 12 Years a Slave, and then The Wolf of Wall Street were all up in 1 year. And they did the right thing that year. They spread the wealth. Matthew McConaughey won Best Actor for Dallas Buyers Club. It was close. They gave Jared Leto the Best Supporting Actor. The dude in 12 Years a Slave was just the plantation owner. It was crazy. He was right there for that Best Supporting Actor. And then they gave Best Supporting Actress to the actress in 12 Years a Slave. And then they gave 12 Years a Slave won Best Picture. So they spread the wealth around. They didn't just give everything to Dallas Buyers Club or give everything to 12. They spread the wealth. The Oscars, shout out. Salute. You did the right thing. You didn't do the right thing in 94, giving everything to Forrest Gump and having the Shawshank Redemption be essentially just a shutout. That was crazy. It's crazy talk. So you look. He looks now. I'm not young. I'm in my 40s. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm in my 40s. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I'm in my 40s now. Okay. This man is. I'm shook of this man. Like, he looks like somebody that writes horror films that keep adults up at night. That's how to do. Like, he just looks like he can come up with these wild things. Now, into the full disclosure, I'm telling you, if you listen, now just beyond him looking creepy and then him creating all of these creepy things, I mean, who can, Clowns? Now clowns have to be... Why? Why do clowns have to be scary? You're young. You don't even think about that. I can't even look at Ronald McDonald the same. I can't look at Ronald McDonald the same way after, it came out. Like, just creating horror and terror all over the place. Stephen King. But all that said, his book on writing is outstanding. And like, he's a pretty cool guy. He's a pretty cool guy. But the fear for me remains. But it's really, he didn't come from money. Was struggling. He and his then girlfriend, now wife of many years, were struggling as he was starting out in writing. And then, he's one of these, once he, got a hold of it, the rest is history. But he's been, I would say, prolific. He didn't let the fame and the fortune. He stayed true to the process and is still writing and is still coming out with things and hasn't forgotten. But shout out to Stephen King. Looks terrifying in real life. Cool dude. Huge Red Sox fan. So he's at Red Sox games all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes the jet over. Kojo? What? My dog Willis, you know what I mean? Got me thinking crazy things. The list goes on and on. The Stand, about, the end of the world. Benito, appreciate you. Maller Militia, respect. Let me know. Mikasa Sukasa, if you got takes, if you want to jump on. Come through. But Stephen King, the man. And the last thing pointed out that I'll make is, my buddies have said this that have got friends in Maine. Cooper Flagg, obviously, from the North Country, from Maine. It's like his house, he obviously lives in he's well-to-do, so he's got a big house kind of set back from the road, and so it's all fenced in and stuff like that, and then hit the gate to get in. There's gargoyles on the gates, it just it just looks scary. So anyway, shout out to Stephen King. All right, let's get back to the world of sports. We're talking Dame Dollar in Boston, right? It's in the ether, it's in the air. Nothing from the Globe, haven't seen Shaughnessy, Bob Ryan, obviously Shams coming out with anything official. But the Celtics are one of those teams that he's going to consider going to, and he has a previous relationship with Tatum and Brad Stevens. For as much smoke as I have for Brad right now, because I think I'm privy to that if the Celtics get Dame, and they knew they need a player, and they need to keep the players that they have, and stop all of this reinvention of the wheel nonsense. But this could have, worked out in their favor. Again, just how the Drew Holiday situation worked out in their favor. Whereas, essentially you have an opportunity to secure a player when you need a player that can keep you in the championship conversation. Now, let's keep this a buck, and I'm going to get Drew on the stage, on the screen in a second. But you can only, the Stephen King. Let's keep Stephen King up there for a little bit longer. Let's keep it clear, folks. You're hearing reports out there that teams have, put the word out like, hey, we might want to bring in Frank Vogel to kind of help us out. I believe the Mavericks were out there saying, Jason Kidd was saying, listen, we need to bring, I want to bring in Frank Vogel. We work together, obviously, with the Lakers. Jason Kidd humbled himself. He humbled himself, took on the assistant job, and, so that when his next opportunity came, he was ready, and the rest is history. But he said, now my staff, we got a new team. It's a new journey, right? We want to bring in Frank Vogel to help me as a lead assistant and bolster up the staff. Doesn't matter what the Celtics do, personnel wise. Joe Mazzulla, and he needs help. He needs help. And the stat nerds, Brad Stevens' minions, they're not cutting it. They haven't cut it. Right? And last year's situation, the second round exit to the New York Knicks under the capable leadership of Tom Thibodeau. All right, people forgot he put Joe Mazzulla on blast, got the Celtics right up and out of there, outmaneuvered him. Nobody was complaining about the rotations that series. I'll say it again and again and again and again and again. You didn't have a problem with people playing 40-some-odd minutes in usage when we ran the Celtics up out of town before Tatum was injured. Nobody had a problem then. Let's remember, nobody had a problem in game 1 against Indiana. Okay, this idea of going with the hot man. Nobody has a problem with Coach K, who's another 7-man rotation guy. Nobody got a problem with Eric Spoelstra, who's a 7-man rotation guy. Tibbs would be ideal to come back to Boston. Would be, now if he'll accept it, but that would be the win-win that I'm talking about. Tibbs is the head coach. He's not an assistant coach. He's a head coach. But do you want to sit in the broadcast booth or do you want to help a team win a championship? Because that was a situation with the Celtics after they got embarrassed by the Miami Heat. I'm saying it again and again and again and again. Embarrassed by the Miami Heat at home in Game 7. Blown out. Team without their second best player. Embarrassing. Okay? We got on the phone when ESPN made the foolish move. Jeff Van Gundy, we need you. Okay? Already added Sam Cassell. Already added Charles Lee. Already added Emile Jefferson. No, we need more. We need a fourth man for this all-time team that we had for 2 years before you destroyed it. Not the second apron, the franchise. Anybody has another take on that? Celtics people, please come on in. It was avoidable. However you slice it. Either you take the hit, okay? Porky, excuse me, his name's not Porky, it's Crispy P. You got Spicy P and Crispy P. Crispy P, that's my man. If somebody had to go, it was Crispy P, and you keep the core 4. But Brad Stevens, human computer, walking analytics man, if you were so concerned about the second apron, which you knew was coming into fruition, you signed Drew to a 2-year deal. The first year deal should have been a 2-year deal. And then now you renegotiate with him. He would have taken a team-friendly deal to stay and get championships. Because that's what has to be done. Now with this whole second apron, which we didn't even need, as far as I'm concerned. Didn't need a second apron. Nobody was storming the gates because Golden State won a couple championships or a couple teams winning luxury tax. And it's not even, right? This whole second apron phenomenon. Teams are still not even willing to go into the luxury tax, i.e. the Indiana Pacers. Yes, we're keeping Stephen King on the screen because this stuff is scary. The Indiana Pacers won't even go into the luxury tax to keep a championship team together. What the heck is the good of the second apron? To give more revenue to those teams who won't even go into the luxury tax. They won't even take that level of pain and reduce profits. Which, by the way, again, you win the championship, you're just getting all that money back plus some. Lakers sold for $10 billion. Celtics for $6 billion. You win a championship, somebody's taking that team off your hands for billions and billions of dollars. You get all your money back. So we need to, help these small market teams. They're not even spending money anyway. So we didn't need it. And the Celtics could have kept their dynastic team together, even in the age of the second apron. Okay, but everybody's cashing out, and they're doing things that are not good for the team and the city. I said what I said. Dallas, you've forgotten it, right? Because it's all Cooper Flagg now with the 1.78 chance that they had to get Cooper Flagg. But that was a situation at the highest levels with ownership. Never mind the bum trade. You could have got 10 first-round picks for Luka. You got none or one. It was a bum deal. It has nothing to do with Anthony Davis. You could have gotten a king's ransom. You could have gotten a small country and an island for Luka. You got an aging player with injury problems. And you were the ones that pressed the deal. The Lakers said, the Lakers made a casual offer. You were like, done. Ain't throwing no Austin Reeves, ain't throwing no Connect, ain't throwing no draft picks. Just like, we want Luka. Okay, they just gave you like just take this and, but, Plinkett didn't even give you like a half serious offer. Dallas was like, sold immediately. That has to do with these owners beefing amongst themselves. doing things that aren't good for the franchise, aren't good for the city. Because you don't want to take some short-term pain. Again, all the way back to the Celtics, and we're going to get back to Dame. I'm all about it. But what I'm saying, and I'm saying again, Joe Mazzulla needs help. He ain't a young Spoelstra. He's not. And it's been proven again and again. My man Tibbs ran circles around him. There's no shame in that because Tibbs is 33 decades deep into this. Joe Mazzulla is the new Jack on the scene. Promising young coach. He's promising, but he hasn't paid his dues yet. He hasn't. It was M.A., Damon, Will, Joe. That was the pecking order before M.A. did what he shouldn't have been doing. Right? Damon Stoudemire had more seniority. Will Hardy clearly because he got the job in Utah, and Danny Ainge won't let him win. When they was letting Will Hardy cook, Utah was winning games that first year. Lauri Markkanen was an all-star. Remember that? When there was the foolishness going on, remember how we used to have the draft picks? Why we had to get rid of that? Because all of this. Well, you didn't send over hors d'oeuvres. How is Joker going to be the second to last pick? And when you're picking up a team, how's Joker all-time great? One of the great centers, great players. If it wasn't for recency bias, and recency bias isn't what I'm saying. Voter fatigue is what I meant to say. He would have the 3 straight MVPs to match Larry Bird. And he's the second to last pick because he doesn't eat barbecue chicken. What are we doing here? But Lauri Markkanen was the last pick in that draft because Joker just got up and went to a team. Furiously offended when Giannis and LeBron were captains. So, by the way, I think that when the Denver Nuggets played the Lakers in those series, Joker ain't forget that. Okay, that might have people did that wasn't a storyline, but I know Joker ain't forget that when they was getting the Lakers up out of there a couple years in a row. I'm gonna pick me second to last. Think this is. But back to Will Hardy, Lauri Markkanen, all-star level when they let him coach and build up players and when they weren't being penalized, and rightfully so, for tanking for no good reason. No, you don't. These teams that are tanking, talk about relegation, I don't want no top picks for them. AJ DeBansa, Cameron Boozer, these teams that aren't showing the fan base something and showing some improvement, you don't get no top picks. Let them pick 6th and 7th every single year as far as I'm concerned. It's not that you lose, it's how you lose. Okay, talk about learning to fly. Talk about Scott Brooks when he was with Oklahoma City. It's time for Stephen King to go now. We got enough. Okay, but he got to go. Stephen, you done your part. Shout out to Stephen King. Good dude. Terrifying. Okay, so yes, let's come all the way back. Let's get Dame on the screen. Dame to Boston because it's percolating. It's a real thing. Okay, right? So let's get this for you on the screen. Right? There's mutual interest. It's in, especially if I'm Dame, right? If I'm Dame, I'm feeling some type of a way. Let me stay in the East because I got something from Milwaukee. Let me stay over here in the East. I got something from Milwaukee. I got something for them. Never mind compete for a championship. But I tell you right now, they might not even make the conference finals, even if they bring in Dame and don't get Joe Mazzulla some help. Okay? Because you broke up your dynastic team. Right? Dame got a little chip on his shoulder. Dame got some attitude. He got some tude to him. Okay? Is he loyal to the soil? Is he tried and true from Oakland? Yes. But if Dame is not happy with something, you're going to feel that energy. You don't know what Jrue Holiday is going through because he's just easygoing. How you doing? Team first all the time. He's going through stuff just like everybody else is going through stuff. But he's very cognizant not to let that affect the team's energy and to always be, to a fault. Again, people over here, this crazy narrative that he's old and he's diminished. Okay. Wait till Drew Holiday's going to be in the conference finals next year. He's going to be in this conversation for a championship next year. We can revisit all these narratives when he's playing winning basketball in May and June, and everybody out here is talking this. He's old. In a pity-pat league where you don't even have to show up to work all the time. Never mind, he takes his job seriously. Okay? That's the same nonsense, the same hookah-looka nonsense people were talking. All right? I'm keeping all those receipts. Right? You don't know what you have till it's gone. All right? As I just use euphemism after euphemism. Yeah. Celtics front runners for Dame. I'm all for it. Bring him to Boston. If there's no help and Brad Stevens thinks he can do it, Brad Stevens and his stat nerds against the world, okay? Same outcome. They're not going to be successful. I said they will not be successful. If no help, okay? Mike Malone, Taylor Jenkins, okay? You lost two huge right? Jeff Van Gundy, okay? He knows his business. He can get through to players. You need him in the foxhole with you. And I'm a big Charles Lee fan, even though Charlotte, never mind, they don't want to spend any money. Never mind, their team just has, if I was the Charlotte Hornets, because they just, I can't buy into LaMelo, even though I saw some of his highlights. They're kind of ridiculous, and his game is, I feel, he can score, and he's a big guard. He's injured a lot. But when I see LaMelo, just looking and watching some of his highlights, I'm like, man, he can shoot the three. He does a nice job of attacking the basket. He's out here diming people. Now, it doesn't show all the turnovers. It just shows the highlights. But it's like he's a big, scoring, diming guard. But I don't equate LaMelo Ball with winning. So, that's my issue with Charlotte. Either literally try to outscore teams, average 130 points a game, right? And we got all these guys, and we're just going to run. We're going to run all game. Paul Westhead, the system. Go check out the Guru of Go, 30 for 30 gold. I feel like Charlotte should just either run, or if you're going to play in the half court, is LaMelo going to be able? I just don't know with him. He's, what are you doing? It should be LaMelo and Brandon Miller, and then you got these other pieces around them, Bridges and, some other just sturdy guys around them, and let those two guys lead if they're willing to lead. And then, these other guys, Bridges and the rest, do the dirty work, right? Like Orlando. Wagner, Paolo, Suggs, now Bane, they're going to work. They're going to buy in. Jamal Mosey says, we're going to play defense. We're going to help. We're going to rebound. We're going to have a physical identity. And there's guys are like, yeah. You know who else brought some identity to some youngsters that were lacking background? He used to coach for the Celtics before he did some things he shouldn't have done. Now people are talking about Amen Thompson being an all-star. Now that's the trajectory that he's on. Why? Why? Because he took his role and mastered it. Wasn't worried about scoring. Wasn't worried about his numbers. Wasn't worried about getting shots up. Coach, this is what you need me to do. I got to lock down this guy, that guy, the third. I got to be in the short corner ready for the pocket pass. Okay? I got to make the extra pass and rotate the ball. We're not going to scheme things through me. I'm going to get my points off the glass. Okay, coach. I'm ready to work. And Amen Thompson mastered his role and grew from there. I'm not seeing that from Charlotte. And now Charles Lee, it's only about this is not a slight on Charles Lee. If they're not willing to do that, if they don't have that role acceptance, once again, the role acceptance of a Reed Shepherd, number 3 overall pick, but they're saying we're going to bring you along slowly. He's like, okay, even though he's their point guard of the future and he's nice. That has to do with the culture established by the coach. That just trickles down to everything. I think Charles Lee's capable of it. If LaMelo Ball's not buying in, I think he's got to go. I think he's got to go, and they just got to build, bring people in that are going to try to want to build something. Back to Dame and the Celtics. This, again, people will, if he comes in, cheer. You got lucky on paper. We lost Drew, but we replaced him with Dame, so we seem to be just as strong. They won't be. Until I start hearing about who's helping Joe. And if it's just, Joe's up for the job and he's been here now and I've seen it too much already. So I'm out on the Celtics if Joe doesn't get help, because that's been the issue all along. Okay? Billy Donovan didn't need help his first year in the NBA when he was coaching the Oklahoma City Thunder. He didn't need no help. In fact, he went head-to-head with Greg Popovich when the Spurs won 67 games. And he said, you know something, Pop, 6 games, you can go home. That's what he did. And he went head-to-head with a 73 Golden State Warriors team. And he said, you know something, we're going to go up 3-1. You guys can get ready to go home too. Before Draymond started karate kicking people, doing his Kung Fu Panda impersonation. Okay? And they were right on the doorstep. Then Kevin Durant decided to take his, but what Billy Donovan, a college ace, year 1, comes in, and that's what he's showing me. Talk about a guy like a Harbaugh, comes in year 1, gets the team going in the playoffs, winning games, right? You can see it. Joe Burrow, year 1, no offensive line, organization doesn't even have an indoor stadium, indoor practice, and you just eye test. Who's that guy? This team is, who that man that went into Kansas City with the mink coat and got that L in Patrick Mahomes' house, had the Bengals in the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl right there. Yeah, him. Haven't seen it from Missoula. Not going to see it from Missoula. If Joe Mazzulla was that dude to lead like that, the Celtics would have won the championship this year. Please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If he was him, that guy, if Joe Mazzulla was that guy to stand alone without the support, the Celtics wouldn't have had the 3-point issues they had during the season. They wouldn't have lost the number 1 seed, and they would have at least made the championship this year. Because pound for pound, they were better than the Knicks, and they are better than the Pacers. But they didn't. Okay, so it looks good. Make it happen. I'm not coming down off that. Okay, this staff needs work. Bring in Dame, bring in all, on paper, 2K, the rest of that stuff. If Dame's unhappy, you're going to hear about it. If Dame doesn't like something, it's going to be known. Okay, and as much as him and Tatum get along, we'll see how that goes. He wants to be here. Okay, whatever, But Dame is, he has a chip on his shoulder. He's always had a chip on his shoulder. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is JB and JT's team. And his role here, just like Drew's role that he took on, and people didn't appreciate it for some unknown reason, was to be that bigger brother, mentor, and to let them shine and to play off of them. And to make the winning plays, i.e. against Indiana with all those steals. and in the finals against the Mavericks. Make all those plays off the ball, on defense, and be ready for your offense when it's there. So that's going to be, I mean, Dame's not that type of a player. He's more of just a scorer, an ISO Joe scorer. That's going to mean he's, so Derek White, whereas Drew Holiday was the one skipping the ball over and Derek White was just getting these disrespectfully wide open threes, right? Now Derek White's going to have to be the one, if this goes down, skipping it over to Dame and letting him cook. And Derek's going to have to be the facilitator because you can't just have 4 straight scores. And clearly Drew is more of a scoring guard than a pure point guard. He can pass. We've seen it, Okay, Horford. The talk that I'm hearing on Big Al, and now I think is Boston Warriors or retirement. Now with now it's getting more interesting, right? I think Al might have certainly felt the tides were turning with the Drew situation. And then these rumblings about JB going all over, the world. But this Dame thing might ease some of those nerves. And we bring in Dame. Okay, so we're right back in it, championship-wise. And I think Al would be inclined to stay and just a huge, huge pickup. Again, locker room, chemistry, continuity, and then Al can come in. Let me just check. Let me just check up on Cornette. I saw he got some money. Right? So Luke's on his way to the Spurs. Okay. Nice pickup for them. Right? That's the one position where the Celtics can go center by committee. Because it was a luxury having Chris BP so that you could literally go 5 out with 5 shooters on the court. Now the Celtics abused that. They most certainly did. Okay, MIT, Yale, Stanford. You're obviously I don't know who's that this idea that you could have 5 scorers and all you're going to do is shoot threes when you have 5 guys that can score in so many different ways and they're not even going to consider posting up Drew Holiday. You won't even consider a cross match and just give the ball to Drew on the block with a mouse on the house against Brunson and let him cook. Drew Holiday is 6'4", 6'5". People keep talking like he's 6'2", 6'3". He's 6'4", 6'5". He's a big dude. He's like Chauncey Billups' size. He's not like Isaiah Thomas' size. Chris, to your point, yeah. Get in the second season. And then Tatum, Dame, come on back for the playoff run. Kind of go from, and that's Tatum's a bit young. I mean, Achilles, it's, but the way it happened, what am I trying to say? You're out for a year. And both injuries being in the playoffs, so it's already May and June. So you're not coming back until the playoffs. And that's, you don't want to, not that you don't, if you're healthy, then you're healthy. But, to have your first game experience in the playoffs does put you at a disadvantage because, you're not ready. You don't want to start at that intensified you know, if you're just getting back to playing live, real games, and then your first live, real games are in the playoffs, but you're still in it's going to take you time to build up. You don't just start in playoff mode. You spend the whole season getting into playoff mode. So the Celtics will have to navigate that. Do I think that they can? Yes. And that's where an embarrassment of riches comes in, right? Because you can lean on Derek White, you can lean on Jaylen Brown, who are both all-star level players, as you incorporate. So it's not like JT and Dame would have to come back and it's us two against the world. No, we can come back, and defer to JB, to Derek White, Pritchard, who should continue, right? The guys that have gotten us there, we can let you guys lead. And then, of course, if you're going to play off of a Tatum or a Dame, if you're going to shift the defense over to the guys that have been getting it done over the course of the year, then that's going to where the spacing will be available for Tatum and Dame to go to work, and they'll be successful. So that's how I see it. Again, it could have been the same thing if you just kept Drew, took that short-term pain, it would have been the same, except you would have had Drew all year, who's a Hall of Famer, an Olympic gold medalist, an NBA champion, and an all-star. So this, so Tatum being out, you would just have Drew Holiday replacing the Celtics as the Celtics' second all-star representative. And Derek White right there in the conversation, depending on where the Celtics land in the East. Okay? So again, for me, the Celtics keep the dynasty together, get Joe Mazzulla some help, end up halfway through the season, number one seed in the East, because they're done with the foolishness and just shooting a zillion threes. You have a more balanced offense. You use Drew Holiday in the post to punish these guards, get him his touches, high percentage touches, stopping run touches. Team's on a freaking 15-2 run, and you're still sprinting to the three-point line and jacking up threes. If this unit is minus 15, I think it's time to get to the free throw line. I think it's time to put some points on the board instead of going with the analytic. Well, if we can't get a dunk, that means we have to shoot a three. Okay? So you go into the playoffs. Again, this is the old Celtics team with 2 to 3 all-stars. Cleveland gets Garland. Cleveland gets Mitchell. Cleveland gets Mosley because they're the number one seed. Celtics could have 3 all-stars if they secure the number one seed. Right? And go from there. So the Dame situation, to Chris's point, it's going to be a little bit more precarious because you're going to be relying on JB and Derek White, to get the Celtics into the playoffs. Hopefully with home court advantage, but you don't know. All right, because it's going to be that's going to be tough, frankly. Because Detroit is coming up the ranks, Orlando is here now, Cleveland's running it back, so that's 3 teams. The Knicks will be in the mix with Mike Brown, who knows his business. So he can have the Knicks, kind of where they were last year, frankly. Mike Brown did a nice job bringing in Malik Monk, kind of rejuvenating his career to bring back that Kentucky connection, and Monk was balling for them. So I think Mike Brown understands that their best starting lineup is with Hart. Their starting lineup should be with Hart at the 4, or if you're bent on putting Cat at the 4, right? Then Hart is your sixth man playing 35 plus minutes a game because the Knicks are better when Hart, Brunson, and Bridges are on the court together. That trio together powers the Knicks. OG right there, trusting the process. And then Cat. All five of those, like that's the best lineup. If you want, have some rim protection because Cat's not doing that anymore. I think he did do that more when he came into the league as a Kentucky guy. He's gone away from that as he wanted to shoot more threes and fine. So you need a rim protector, put Mitchell in. But when Mitchell goes to the bench, it needs to be hard out there for the Knicks, keeping La Cosa Nova strong to produce those winning plays. OG had a really good playoff run, playing defense. He did a really good job scoring, hit a lot of threes, mid-range. He was scoring more than I had seen before. Okay, so back to the Celtics. Orlando, Cleveland, Boston, Orlando, Cleveland, Boston, Detroit, 4. Milwaukee's taking a step back. Indies taking a step back, losing Turner, Halliburton being out. And then you just have a couple teams that don't know who they are. Talented teams with no identity for whatever reason. Talking about the Bulls. Even with Billy Donovan and Arturas Karnisovas, they just haven't shown me that, they're coached. They have institutional stability. They got player, Kobe White. They got Giddey. I like the kid Matas Boulias, who's kind of like Cooper Flag for the Bulls. Long. Played at Brewster Academy in New Hampshire. Just like a 6'8", 6'9", really athletic, everything type of a player. Hawks, same thing. Quinn Snyder knows his business. Will they get serious and start to move up the ladder? I just think that the Celtics, it's about staying out of the play-in, staying in that top 6, which will be trying with 2 guys against the world. And then, the second season, they are going to have a new team and just to be able to kind of be in the conversation. Yeah, Patrick Williams. Are the Pacers really better than the Bulls? Levine, he did disappoint me. UCLA guy, came in, had to earn his way to get the contract, but then gets the money, and I didn't love his attitude or like it, frankly. Lonzo was the most important player for them, their true point guard to kind of get everybody, and not because it was supposed to be Lonzo, Levine, and DeRozan. And then you have Vucevic, and then so Lonzo was just going to be the quarterback and get these guys involved. That never happened. And then the Bulls just never, they've just always been a play-in team. Whereas, who's better, Colby White or TJ McConnell, or Ayo Dasumi off the bench, it's another guy that could be impacting the game like McConnell does for them to scheme out a couple more wins. The Bulls are a mystery to me because I Donovan's coaching them. I just don't know why they don't win more in the East, particularly. Have to watch more Bulls games. But back to the Celtics. Yeah, bring in Dame. Kind of keep this culture positive, frankly. I feel like a lot of folks are not happy and questioning with Drew leaving. So, good on paper, good for 2K, but it's they're gonna have two separate, almost like hockey, two completely separate journeys. Regular season without Tatum and Dame, playoffs with Tatum and Dame, and then having a structure for those guys to be successful in, meaning further coaching support. All right, let's take a look at Edgecombe and Ace.
To kick off NBA.
Yep.
NBA Summer League, we got to look at the third and the fifth pick in the draft this year. VJ Edgecombe versus Ace Bailey. And one, it's rare to get this good of a matchup of top prospects this early on in Summer League before we even get to Vegas. And also, these are two prospects that are going to be connected forever. Ace Bailey, I think if he had done the draft process correctly and normally, probably would have gone third overall to Philadelphia. It's very likely he's the third best or third most talented prospect in the class. He falls to 5, and VJ Edgecombe slides into that spot. Obviously, it's still just Summer League, but this was also the perfect game to encapsulate the difference between each of their games as prospects and possibly what they're going to look like as future NBA players. It's still so early on in their careers, but it's still really fun to take a look at. So first, let's talk about VJ Edgecombe. Going into the draft process, the narrative around him was that he was this really great athlete, more of a complementary fit than someone like Ace Bailey, someone that's going to play off of another, more ball-dominant guard, or in this case in Philadelphia, a guy in Tyrese Maxey that likes to have the ball, along with Joel Embiid, a guy that likes to have the ball. And the VJ Edgecombe's going to be out there defending, shooting, and working off of those guys. And as a result, has a little bit more of a higher floor than someone like Ace Bailey that projects more as the focal point of an offense, superstar kind of player if he reaches his full potential. And a lot of people saw that as an ideal fit for Philadelphia. Once the Ace Bailey thing kind of fell apart, having that more complementary option in Philly with VJ Edgecombe made a lot of sense. And you saw a bunch of other things from VJ Edgecombe in college, a little bit more on the ball, a lot of attacking the rim, but overall the narrative for him as a prospect was a little bit more of a high floor rather than this crazy upside. But I think the comparison to Bailey specifically kind of warped the perception of VJ Edgecombe as a player, and it's been said publicly in a bunch of different places that he, as well as his camp, the people around him, do see him as an on-ball creator at the NBA level. They think it's something, one, that he can develop, and two, that he can showcase now. And in this game, he definitely showed us more of that. He was hitting some of these dribble pull-ups. He was getting to the rim. He was operating out of ball screens and pick and rolls. And obviously part of that is because it's Summer League. He's the best guy on the team. He's the player that everybody's there to evaluate and develop. So he's going to get plenty of opportunities, and he got a ton of opportunities, certainly in terms of shot attempts, but pretty much everything that you saw from VJ Edgecombe matched what you expected from him as a prospect and then some, and kind of validated all of these things that maybe he and his camp felt about him as a player in terms of being able to do a little bit more on the ball. Obviously, the big differentiator for him in his career is going to be shooting, specifically off the ball. He's not going to be someone that's going to get a ton of pick and roll reps every single single game, at least early in his
seems
career.
like
So he's got to be able to space off the ball. And
somebody,
that's something that he's still working on. He's an incredible athlete,
that
really
played
can guard, really can get to the rim, outstanding in transition. But
serious
we've
college
seen this kind of
basketball and
archetype not develop the way that we'd hoped just because they can't hit shots off the
college
ball. And if he
basketball,
can,
much more of a
this is
half-court
going to be
game,
a really great pick for Philadelphia, regardless of
coach-dependent
how much of
game.
that upside he actually fulfills. I've seen some comparisons, some comps
NBA
for him in the draft process that I really like.
player-centric,
One
wide
is
open.
Victor Oladipo, but like a few
So
inches
Edgecombe,
taller,
you know,
someone that
he's
is a really good defender, but then you're asking them to do some stuff on the ball. And if that's what he turns into, minus all the injury stuff, that is a pretty much
very
perfect complementary fit alongside Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid as someone that can guard, but also can take some of that on-ball responsibility and
Edgecombe
score. And I think
is
early on already, just in this game, VJ Edgecombe, although yes, it was a lot of
focused.
shot attempts, and yes, it was still just summer league, on the surface showed you a bunch of the things that
and
made him the third
looking
overall
for to
pick
get
in
to
the
his
first place.
spots.
On the other hand, probably the most
And
polarizing
understanding
player,
that he
not
needs to
probably,
get to his
definitely the
spots.
most polarizing player and prospect in the entire
understanding
class
this is
was
I'm
Ace Bailey.
going
And I
to
think this game
place.
was also perfectly representative of the kind of prospect that he was and maybe what some of the concerns are for him at the NBA level. Obviously, like I said in the beginning, caveat, these guys could go complete opposite directions. Summer League doesn't really have a whole lot to do with how well you do as an NBA player, but for Ace and VJ specifically, I just thought it was an interesting game because it was pretty much spot on for what you expected. Ace as a prospect was seen as a guy that can really shoot and can really score, but more so as a tough shot maker, not necessarily someone that's getting a ton of easy shots, not necessarily someone that's breaking people down off the dribble and getting to the rim all the time, but he's big, has a high release point, and can really shoot the ball. And so his shot making is the way that he scores, in addition to some really great tools athletically. Defensively, there's some upside there if he really wants to commit to it. And you can just tell when he has the ball in his hands, there's this explosiveness and this dynamism that really excites you. And that's kind of where this narrative of being one of the most talented players in the class comes from, even if he wasn't one of the top 3 picks in the class. The problem for Ace, and I think we saw that a little bit in this game, is creating those shots rather than just making tough ones all the time. There are plenty of players in the NBA that are incredible tough shot makers, but also create easy ones. It's incredibly difficult to average 20 points a game at the NBA level if every single shot you take is difficult. If every single shot you take is a
Okay, so bottom line, Edgecombe, Bailey, Summer League is Summer League. Okay, we've had Summer League phenoms, and it hasn't panned out. But contrarily, you see something, you say something. And Edgecombe was sharp, which is reassuring for a Sixers team that needs to be thinking future, rather than past. Needs to be thinking about, what a team looks like built around Tyrese Maxey versus, all these stars hovering around the former MVP and Joel Embiid. So I'm thinking to myself, now I got Maxey, and now I got another explosive, quick player, who's gonna be receptive to, coach's vision, not gonna be focused on having everything run through them or for them. You're starting to talk about a Westbrook and Harden situation where you have your pieces, that can become cornerstones for the franchise for 10 plus years. All right. A few other moves in the association. Valanciunas acquired by the Nuggets. Put out some feelers that says, I might go back to playing in Europe. Clearly, the Nuggets already have a starting center. Not sure if I want to come off the bench and compete for a championship. I mean, I don't see why not. There's no shame in coming off the bench behind Nikola Jokic. And providing that needed interior scoring. He's a good free throw shooter. He can rebound, change shots. The things that Denver isn't necessarily known for, and that they certainly need to have when Joker goes to the bench. So Valanciunas, it's not optimal, but you've been playing for the Pelicans, and you've been kind of a journeyman on teams going nowhere fast. Whereas, yes, coming off the bench, you'd rather, but you are in now the championship conversation. Okay. With a player, who can understand the international perspective. So on and forth. So if I'm Denver, another good pickup to add to Bruce Brown and Cam Johnson. And I think that they'll eventually get Valanciunas into the fold. What's up, folks? Okay. Appreciate it. Appreciate the retweets and the likes. Got a number of people on X, which I call Twitter. Don't tell Elon. Elon's busy, folks. I don't know how concerned he is with. That would be something. I appreciate if Elon checked out SandCity Sports, but last I checked, he was trying to put the underpinnings down and created a whole new political party. So Elon might not be, he might not have had time. Very good. We're good on the, forgot. You just let folks know. I've been here. I'm going to be here. It's a beautiful thing. Summertime and the weather is good. Supposed to get some rain. Hopefully not tomorrow. I've set aside. It's gotten to a point. I don't know how you guys are out there, but it's gotten to a point where I said, okay, I got to get some raking and mowing, and it's got to go down. I put myself in a mindset to do it. And you kind of get yourself in this mindset, and then it rains, and it's, oh, goodness gracious. I was ready to go. So I'm like, to go out and do. But then, it might rain for 3 or 4 days. But it's obviously plenty of work to do. There's plenty to do, whether it be, however. A good friend of mine, his dad used to always say, his dad was like a carpenter. Had really good vocational skills. I'm lacking on the vocational skills. It's one of the things I tell the students. One of the things I'm just, people that good with your hands, can fix things, mechanic, carpentry, plumbing, HVAC, whatever, those, never mind, those jobs can't be filled, and there's plenty of money to make in the economy, in the trades, saving yourself student loan debts, which price of college has doubled and tripled, along with a lot of things in American life. And then, as you get older, you can do you don't have to subcontract things. You can do these. I don't have to pay somebody to do it. I can do it myself. So on and forth. So that's I always, you tip your hat to people, the workmanship for the students, those skills. A lot of times the young people, they don't, they're so great. They have such competency and proficiency in the trades, and because they don't want to sit down and listen to Mr. King talk about, the Industrial Revolution for an hour and a half. That means that they don't have intellectual capability. It's nothing could be further from the truth. They're actually quite bright. across the board, and then specifically related to the trades. Me, not so much. Dates, places, writing, the life of the mind, pretty good. But all those trades that I just mentioned, I rely on YouTube videos. I rely on YouTube videos, and then I got to subcontract some of that. If something absolutely has to get done, and I can't be a quick study on YouTube, it's got to be subcontracted, and that's just the way it's got to be. But tomorrow, as I was saying, I'm saying to myself, I just got it in my mind. It's this, stat, and the third is getting done because it has to get done. It's past due to get done. So hopefully the weather holds up. If it's raining, oh well, I couldn't get it done because it's raining. Now I just got it. You just pass it off later in the week. And go from there. All right, let's talk. Let's got a couple things. We'll talk Team USA, the loss in the Gold Cup. I want to take a look and see how this impacts the standings for the World Cup. All right, let's get this on the screen. Folks, you're welcome to chime in here because huge soccer fan. And let me, I love sports. And so soccer is an international game, the number one sport globally. My dear friend, D-Tomp, he got into soccer and knew soccer really well. My buddy Jay is a soccer guy. I remember I did the episode about there were supposed to be the rumblings about combining all the major leagues into one like super league. And I pronounced it wrong. My buddy says it's UEFA. UEFA is the international body. Didn't end up happening, right? It's almost like the Live Tour, which was kind of bankrolled by petrodollars. And they were talking about this league a couple years. It was like in the pandemic, just coming out of the pandemic. But it's sometimes people don't realize that like these leagues, they have leasing agreements, stadium agreements, right? Because they're fully aware, you don't, particularly NBA after the ABA came into fruition and then the ABA merger. So the leagues will have, you can't, only like when they do these arrangements, only our league can use this stadium or can use that stadium or so on and forth. So again, to form a new league, like you'd have to almost build the infrastructure from scratch, and it would just be too costly to do. But I can say that I'm a huge soccer fan. Not that I understand the game intrinsically. Played the game at a young age, and I wasn't built for football. So played soccer, enjoyed soccer. But I just these leagues. I love how it's almost like a tournament of champions. Not that it's almost like there is a tournament of champions in soccer for all these different professional leagues. Bundesliga, Premier League, Manchester, the Real Madrid, where like the best teams, they don't just win their individual league. No, they play against, so their idea, the idea of a world champion in soccer is closer to a fact, right? That'd be like the NBA doesn't play, which I'm not opposed to it. Yeah, it'd be cool to see the NBA champion play the winner of the Euro Cup or whatever. Those matchups would be, and it not necessarily be like the nation playing against each other, because no, the winning team in that league playing the winning team in these other leagues to see how it goes. Again, David Stern did that those were like exhibitions as David Stern, with his global vision for the game, was building it up into form. But we don't, it's not necessarily, it hasn't been formalized, which, again, Adam Silver, you're all about, taking the mantle and continuing to expand the game globally. That would be a good, the winners of the European League play the winner of the NBA championship, prize money, whatever. Obviously, the luster has worn off. So Team U, the winner of the NBA championship could lose to the winner of the Euro League. We see it happen in the Olympics. So again, back to soccer. So USA going down 2-1 to Mexico. Mexico's 10th Gold Cup championship. As far as I'm like, that's a good showing. Would it have created some national pride and more interest, to get that? Yes. But certainly to get to the championship is fortunate and favorable. For me, I need to take a look at the World Cup rankings. All right, do I trust goal.com for the World Cup rankings? I'm going to go with the hold on. Let's go with the Ringer. All right. No, let's come all the way back. I just, you can't see this. I'm going to get this for you on the screen. Okay, so 2-1 loss, hurtful. I get it. But how does that change or factor into the United States for the big kahuna, the World Cup? Let's take a look. Okay, so have Spain ranked first. Star man, Lamine Yamal, playing for Barcelona. Argentina second. Lionel still in the conversation. Ooh, I am familiar with the Copa America based on seeing the two Escobars. So Argentina won not just the World Cup, but the Copa America in 2021 and 2024. Okay. Shout out to the two Escobars. So Spain, Argentina 2, France 3, Mbappe, Pogba. I remember France took the title in 2020, 18. Took the title in 18. England 4. Harry Kane playing in the Bundesliga. Ronaldo still hanging on. Bruno Fernandes, star of the future. Germany. It's a machine. I believe Germany won it in 14. When it was in Brazil. Beat Brazil 7-0. I thought I didn't think the score was accurate when I saw it. Speaking of which, Brazil 7th. Okay. Netherlands. Call them winning. Colombia. Scrolling along here. And so, okay, so now we're out of the top 10. I just want to see where Team USA and we're going down the line. Okay, so USA ranked 24th in the world. It would have been nice to get this gold club. It would have been nice. Just gotta reach out, quickly. Men's league team celebrating an anniversary. So they're not going to make the men's league game. On account of an end, that's cause for. I know we're live here, but somebody tells you about a 29th anniversary. We got to get congratulations in order. Yes, indeed. Okay, we'll be all right with the men's league. You make sure that you have a good anniversary, get back and celebrate and appreciate. Okay, so yeah. When that it doesn't, Gold Cup victory. Okay, now we try to get into the top 20 if we're Team USA. And I'm waiting, hoping, it goes back to, right, the two Escobars. What is this, 94? When the World Cup was last in the States? Right? And, people talk, soccer, it's a fringe sport, and MLS is going nowhere. Been around for decades, it's staying around, like getting some of these top players to come in. So obviously football is king. Plenty of other sports to take a bite out of that apple, that athletics apple. I'm waiting, hoping to see the United States make a run in one of these World Cups and break through into the round of 16. Get out of pool play. And for the players, the Pulsics, that's, the great American players, that's kind of what you have to do. I don't think it is what you have to do. In order to raise your stature as a great soccer man in the global conversation, obviously names like Pele come to mind. Yeah, and if it doesn't happen, that supports the narrative that there's just not the the numbers, the participation, the interest to generate, right? Same thing that can be used, right? America, basketball, football, like the best athletes are, the pool of the top athletes are going into these sports and not into these other sports. United States is able to break through, then you can say to yourself, all right, we know that we're not taking, athletes from football. We're not taking athletes from basketball. We're not taking athletes from baseball. Okay, we may not be taking athletes from hockey. But with the pool that we have, we can produce, a single or handful of world-renowned athletes. Team USA keeps getting knocked out in the, divisional, or name is escaping me now, what they call the pool stage. Then it's the conversation of, well, it's good that we qualified. Well, at least we qualified. We made the World Cup. That's something to, at least we didn't miss the World Cup. Okay. And I guess that's just going to be the status quo as far as soccer in the United States is concerned. We didn't miss it, but we didn't do much when we got in there. But, we showed up to the party. I have no gift. I can't stay after hours, as it goes on. But I showed up. I made a special guest appearance, and I'm out. I'd like to see more. I think we're capable of more. We are still a prosperous nation and have all these opportunities, so can invest in people and athletics and all the rest of that stuff. But right now, Team USA remains on the fringes. Okay. To be continued. No, yes, indeed. Okay. Okay. The preps, the young guys are playing well. All right, let's take a look at the stars of tomorrow. Okay, going to take a look at the stars of tomorrow. Then we'll do some light baseball. We'll touch on baseball. Getting updates. Bridge traffic remains until 10 o'clock or more or later. All right, so let's go with the stars of tomorrow that are hooping right now. It's topical. Okay. So, Tynan Stokes out of California leads the way for the top rising seniors. Young man Christian Collins, second. Also from California. Jordan Smith out of the VA, third. Jason Crow, another from California. So 3 of the top 5 prospects are hailing from California. And then Caleb Holt rounds it out at He's coming in from Georgia. I'd like to scroll down and see. This is a departure, right? So New England had a stranglehold on the number 1 pick. Top rated recruit the last 2 years, right? With AJ and Cooper Flag. Okay, and so now we see a new wave coming out, and power seems to be out of California. So let's now go ahead and see what's going on the EYBL circuit. Okay. And okay. It's poor. Let me just come to our standings. Let me get this straight. Might have had my dates mixed up. Okay. Had to get my dates in order. So Peach Jam will be kicking off midweek, starting on Wednesday and going for essentially a week and a half. Okay. So just thinking the first 2 weeks of July, but it's really, and then this kind of makes sense because the 4th is when it is. You don't want to be, it doesn't make much sense to, I think, for anybody to have these high leverage tournaments where people are celebrating. Then you have to choose between the 4th of July and this tournament. No. Okay, so we are on point there. Let's go ahead and share the screen and kind of discuss the stars of tomorrow. Folks who are more than welcome to check in. Let me just go around on the socials, see how we're doing. Summertime. Folks checking in across the board. I appreciate you. Okay, so right, these are the players who universities are fighting tooth and nail to sign NIL deals, and then also to be paid directly by said universities. Okay, these guys are rising seniors, and we have to clarify this, right? Because there's a good chance 1, 2, 3 of these players will be on college campuses in the fall. Okay, that's what we call gray shirting. which is when a top, usually junior, all of a sudden takes some additional classes, some additional tests here and there, and they were scheduled to go forward with their senior year, but they did some summer classes, ABC, XYZ, and the next thing you know, they're eligible for the fall, right? And so Cooper Flagg is younger. Okay, he gray shirted. Okay, in order to be eligible. I have to go back and look at that. He was at Maine, then he was at Montvert. And I'm going to stick to that, and I'll go back if I need to, but I believe Cooper Flagg, gray shirted. Okay, he's a top junior, and then he just said, okay, take these classes. I'm eligible now. I stepped onto the Duke campus, and so right. He's similar to LeBron in that, he's younger. His birthday's in December, right? So he's 18. He'll turn 19 in December. Same thing like LeBron. Later birthday, but he's got 2-3 months as an 18-year-old in the NBA. All right. Does gray shirting benefit players? Proof's in the pudding. Okay. There's this idea of one and done, right? The gray shirting is a way to sidestep being a one and done, right? So you're only in school for 4 years. You're in school for 4 years, except that fourth year is that frosh year in college before you parachute off into the NBA. Okay? The verdict is still out. Is Cooper going to be successful, and is he going to have a good career, and is it come down to gray shirt? And Cooper will be all right. But in the aggregate, I don't think gray shirting benefits players. And a lot of players, i.e. the Nerlens Noels, the Andre Drummonds of the world, the list goes on and on, of players that, quote unquote, reclassified. It used to be you did this because you wanted to get to your bag, right? Obviously, elite players are all very well how do I say that? They're very well taken care of. Now we can say compensated. Frankly, they've always been compensated nicely. Okay? And however you want to acknowledge that, it's always been the case that the elite athletes, prized players, top commodities, reap the benefits. How much of that is debatable? These things, a couple $100,000 has been reported in terms of Zion Williamson and when was at Duke, and people now suing him, saying they loaned him all this money and yada, yada, yada. Goes all the way back to Cam Newton, $150,000, and his dad, all this pomp and circumstance and hand-wringing, which to me is atrocious. The narrative and the landscape has completely changed. Hopefully, and for me, we look at those instances much different now. DeAndre Ayton at Arizona, $200,000, 100. There was heat on Sean Miller. And first of all, so now that's done, and good riddance to that, because it was the Wild West and it was an uneven playing field, and the money was always there, but it just was a matter of, okay, we're going to catch this player and we can punish him because he's not too highly rated or connected to a blue blood, right? And what I'm getting at with this, and what has to be like the penultimate, is that NIL's here. Now the colleges have finally gotten on board. Players can be compensated. So relative to gray shirting, you don't necessarily need to leave to get paid. And in fact, you're probably making better money in college, by and large, than you would going to the NBA draft. NBA draft numbers were decidedly lower this year. Yeah, because I can stay in college, be a college quote unquote kid, make millions of dollars, develop my game, and then get a higher draft pick next year, which I think is good for everybody. It's good in theory. Giving a 17, 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old millions of dollars on a college campus is a recipe for disaster in many cases. So that is the burden that comes with, the great opportunity. Okay. The secondary point that I'm going to just establish and then move on from, not going to belabor this, but we do look differently at all of those years of the horse being out of the barn, but nobody wanting to admit it, and this player here being penalized, but that player over there walking scot-free. Most glaring example is North Carolina, which was found to have been operating a fraudulent academic department, the African American Studies Department. This was proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, and they received no penalty. Okay, so that was it for me. We can penalize these programs, take scholarships. We can penalize Memphis and Coach Cal, but we can't penalize. There's certain teams that we just can't penalize. If you can't penalize certain teams, then just do away with the rule. Okay? If Cal can have to vacate a natty or national championship appearance because of allegedly or actually a fraudulent SAT score, but North Carolina can operate a completely fraudulent department or program, and because they are a blue blood with the Carolina Blue, and they're prestigious, the most prestigious of the prestigious alumni, then, well, probation. Enough. Just enough. Right? And all the while, okay, in this multi-billion-dollar industry, the coaches are making out like gangbusters. Come from the pros to college, sign the Godfather deals, ironclad. If you fire me, I get every single last penny of my money, irregardless, it was almost, unless you didn't commit a felony, you were getting every single penny of the contract. And, Jimbo Fisher, $75 million to leave Florida State and go to A&M. It wasn't working out. That oil money just flowing in plentifully. Okay, well, you got to go. You can get paid $75 million to be a broadcaster. But we can't stand it anymore at Texas A&M. And we'll just write a check and we can do that. But there's an issue. And by the way, we're going to get to the Mannings, the book of Manning, the house of Manning, because I just feel strongly about how they have approached this with NIL, without NIL. So I got some strong feelings there. But just in terms of, appreciate you, Chris. Anybody else across the board? If you have anything, jump in. We are here for the duration. Summertime and the living is good. Tip my hat to those that are getting up tomorrow to check in. I'm getting up tomorrow to do some here and there, some errands and some housework that has to get done. But it is what it is. Okay, I'm fortunate to have a little bit of time being in education. But frankly, this SandCity Passion Project is going to go right through the school year. So if we got to get, if I had to check in, get up at the 5:36 time and be out, then we would have done it that way. But not having to, hey, we can cook a little bit more. So we're here. You're welcome. Jump in. Mi casa. You know what it is. Su casa. So back to the stars of tomorrow, folks. And the top, nobody's listed, and rightfully so. Unless, of course, you have a school that your parents went, that you kind of were leaning and you go there. But the bottom line is, these guys are all NIL, those deals secured. So hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, for these prospects. I'm all for it. Now, that being said, and we might have to run back a clip when we get to Slice of Life, where Amari Stoudemire talks about the abuses that take place, these fraudulent schools, these schools with 12 students located in a church basement, but it's all of a sudden a school. And of these 12 students, 8 of them are highly ranked nationally. So, we don't see as many, right, of those stories, since what's happened is the sneaker companies have just come in and taken over the entire process. It's not just EYBL, which is Peach Jam, which is kicking off midweek, which SandCity is going to be covering to determine who's the next star of tomorrow. Tynan Stokes is and obviously he's a top junior, so he's just become the top junior, having not been the top freshman and the top sophomore, and having played with AJ DeBanza last year on the Oakland Soldiers, losing to the Knight Riders of Florida with the Boozer twins. That was the marquee matchup in the Peach Jam final. Right? So these guys have been in this upper echelon, by the way, which Steph Curry was excluded from. Just keep that in mind. They're playing on Team USA. Team USA and Team USA, the U19 team led by AJ DeBanza and the young boozer, Cameron, just won the U19 World Cup. They're out in the Scandinavian countries. Kristen Peak, shout out to Kristen Peak, went to college with her. She's a top reporter at top preps and NBA draft reporter for Yahoo Sports. Small world that it is. So KP is out there. Forget where it was. One of the Western European countries. Okay. What are we discussing? Stars of tomorrow. You can see the rankings here, which I think is better, because if I showed you, wouldn't really know who these folks are just yet. They haven't become household names yet. Soon. They will be household names. But what is the point here? Let's talk about human development. Is what I'm talking about now, because, right, and this is no slight, no knock, just the data as we go. right? These guys are invincible, and they're doing things that are, historic from the standpoint, if you're a McDonald's All-American, nobody can take that from you. If you're a top-ranked player, nobody can take that from you. You're always going to have that. But the reality is, of those 24 McDonald's All-Americans, 5, 8, so 1/3 max are going to make the league. And then of that 8, how many are going to, 4, 5 have staying power? So even these guys, the majority of the youngsters, and are going pro in something other than sports, meaning you're going to spend the majority of your life working, not being paid millions and millions of dollars to play the game that you love. That's how you're going to spend the majority of your life. And so that's where we get back to the point that is ripe for exploration in terms of, and maybe I need to get out and get out of the, a room and put a microphone in some people's faces. Maybe that's what has to happen. What is ripe for exploration is how are these 14, 15, and 16-year-olds spending their millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars? And is this money going to benefit the player and their development without all of these other hands getting involved and leaning on them? Because those things are improper, and those things are, at a certain point, illegal. Right? Let's see if we can get, because I've been mentioning it. All right, so let's get this for you on the screen. I've mentioned it before. Sometimes, like, it is what it is. It is what it is, folks. So it's going down. Hopefully, I don't get shadow banned. But we need to kind of, and I've mentioned it. So this is at all cost. It's quality.
When it was all pickup, anybody with a ball and a pair of shoes, dude, you could walk up Nets. I got winners, and you were in. Now, dude, you can't call winners. You got to be invited onto the court. In fact, they ain't even telling you where the game's being played.
Charlotte Hornets select Kobe Bryant from Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania.
So many people said it's not good for high school players to go right to the NBA. What do you have to say now?
The enormous growth of club basketball, sometimes called AAU.
The high school kid is the number 5 pick in the NBA draft, Kevin Garnett.
There are many, many abuses. 12-year-olds are playing 100 games a summer. Obviously, something's out of whack, but that's what happens when the rewards are so high.
An AAU coach taking money intended to steer Ben McLemore to Kansas.
The kid is the product. So if you got the product, people will come. Everybody's making money.
It's like the Wild Wild West. It's part of the process now to making it in basketball. Runners, agents, shoe companies, this is the game.
It's the genesis right here. It's the roots.
I always threaten him with the beast. But the beast has been out there since 5 this morning. He's been shooting and stretching and running and practicing his D so that when your ass comes out to try out and he's out there, you ain't making the team. Your ass at 5'10", 150 pounds. When they look, you don't pass the look test. So since you don't pass the look test, when you get out there,
Don't stop, won't stop, boy. Bang that, bang that.
ETA, baby, bust their ass. Bust their ass. Do not wait.
Good turn quick. Get out. Good. Hey, good. Now you gotta shoot.
The moment you let up, you gonna get your throat cut. I wanted to know from day one whether my kid can hang or not. Only place we could find that was AAU, because that's where the real dudes were playing, and that's where all the attention was focused to.
Parker Cartwright, Parker Jackson Cartwright.
I'm sure everyone around the country is interested. What makes him really special to me, he's very unselfish, and he makes other players around him much better.
He has the fundamental understanding that very few point guards have in today's game.
What immediately stood out was just his overall feel for the game. He's always seems to be a few plays ahead of everybody else.
Even beyond his size, what you notice, by the way, is his innate ability with the basketball, his dynamic flair on the court, even for a kid that young and that size.
He's got a terrific vision and creativity from the point guard position. Just a really good passer, sees plays before they happen.
The real thing with Parker is there's mental toughness and physical toughness that kind of belies his size.
Bottom line, coaches are looking for guys to distribute the ball, lead the team, hit the open shot when it's there, and Parker has all those skills.
Gonna hold it there. Again, that's at all costs. Check it out. Shout out to At All Costs. Been on, and it just takes you through the process and kind of gives a number of components. And I just want to now cross-reference that. And again, as I don't. It's a clip. I played it. Got a lot of respect for the director. He's if you go ahead and check it out, which you can find on a YouTube, number of different platforms. He's close with the Compton Magic program. If you know who Evan Mobley is, then you're familiar with the Compton Magic. Top tier program. But now let's kind of deconstruct, because we're talking about 15-year-old millionaires. We're talking about 15-year-old millionaires, and we are going to get all the way to Arch Manning on this conversation. Please, anybody, if anybody has anything, I like this, I don't like that, how we're running things today, SandCity Sports, I'm receptive to it. But we're talking about preps, the stars of tomorrow, and this, the grassroots, the journey. Okay. And we're going to get to the 14-year-old millionaires. But, in that opening sequence, what he said was so important that and I see it as a referee, folks out there in television land, your kid might be a really promising player in whatever the heck the sport it is. And you're, that's once in a lifetime. You're on the journey together. You want to give the kid as many opportunities. But that first scene was really meaningful because you have to be invited onto the court. They're not telling you where the games are being played. Okay, and so what At All Costs highlights and all the way, to these top players, they are the prize figures on the sneaker circuits. That's where the attention is hyper focused. All right, the sneaker circuit starts with Nike, Elite Youth Basketball League, EYBL, which culminates with Peach Jam, which is in Augusta, South Carolina. You have Adidas, their 3-stripe tournament. Not sure what city they're in. And then Under Armour has their championships. All during this live period, which is taking place now, second week, third week in July, where the college coaches can be there in person. Okay? So what does this have to do with the ESPN kids and then your kid out there somewhere in television land? First of all, let's just understand that basic premise. That, like it or not, fair or foul, the eyes and the attention are through the lens of the sneakers companies. The sneaker companies. Most prominently Nike, then Adidas, then Under Armour. Control who gets the opportunity to be the next phenom. All right? And so the closer that you can get to that epicenter, the greater your exposure and ranking is going to be. Did I just say that nobody who does not get in that can make it? That's not what I said. But I said the idea of rankings and ratings and Cooper Flagg and AJ DeBanza and Tynan Stokes was based on them having access to sneaker company teams and dollars and then shining bright at sneaker events. Okay? So I just, and so if you're, and the majority of athletes do not have access because there's only 3 circuits and a certain amount of teams on that circuit. Does that mean you cannot make it? In my view, no. It doesn't mean you can't make it. But it just means you're going to have to walk a different path. Okay? So I say that, just so people, because a lot of times you talk to folks and I say, and it's that whatever, I'm speaking specifically to basketball. And yes, the number one thing is you just work hard and get better. And that's what can get lost in this wildness. Not just the rankings, not just the privilege, having to deal with gatekeepers here and there, So there's all these rankings, which at the end of the day, because again, Steph Curry not ranked, they're meaningful for the moment. Rankings are meaningful for the moment. They're not meaningful for the entirety of the journey, but people get caught up in that, good, bad, or indifferent. Good book on this that I found out through At All Costs. It's called Playing for Keeps, which you can find on Audible. But a journalist was embedded and wrote a book. I, again, not reading as much as I need to, got it on Audible. And he kind of looks at just the process, the modern process, and follows a team and a group and just kind of reports on it. And kind of what, the parents and the players are going through. Again, the majority of which will max out with a college degree and an opportunity to get into the economy, which is pretty doggone good. But the overwhelming majority, again, are entering the real economy as a worker of some capacity. Now, you might referee like me. You might coach and have your own team, which you can do a nice job with, make a lot of money, whatever, or just impact the community. You might become a trainer and just train athletes and not coach. There's so many different things that you can be that will be good for you. You can do good work in the community. You can make a couple dollars, and really have a nice career, quote unquote, second career, first career, whatever the case may be, and then good impact. That's where everybody lands. The 1% of the 1%, they go on to be on TV. The 99.95 land there, and there's nothing wrong with it. And you got people, depending on how you slice the app, and what we're going to talk about that. And that's what we're talking about right now, frankly. Is the 14-year-old phenom who's ranked number 1 and everybody drinks the Kool-Aid at 14, even though it's just for the moment. It's just that moment. It's okay that you're not ranked number 1 at 15 it's okay. But that gets lost in the conversation because you were ranked number 1 at 14. You have to be ranked number 1 as a senior to go on to Duke of North Carolina, to play in the McDonald's All-American game, to go on to the NBA. That becomes the thinking. It's completely, unfortunately, it's just not accurate, is what I'm saying. And it's okay that it's not accurate. What happens, though, is everybody gets tied into the early success. And banks on the early success. And then life happens, like anything. You're ranked 1, you're ranked 5, you're ranked 10, but you get so tied to that number 1 ranking or that top 3 ranking that your development, because, again, you're 13. You're not entering the NBA draft at 13. You're not entering the NBA draft at 15 or 17, right? You have to continue growing and getting a lot better. But I'm preaching to the choir on that, right? As you go along. And so at all costs, it does a really good job. Check it out. Playing for Keeps is another book, if you're interested in this stuff, check it out, which is just looking at the overall process. But what sells us, what draws us in is Powerball. We get drawn in on the next LeBron, the next KD, right? That's what draws you in. Oh, this is going to be, right? Where Cooper is now, all potential and promise and hope. Now, again, for Cooper and for AJ, let's be clear. I happen to think that he's the real deal. Not just because he's from New England, not, because I happen, you know what I mean? People that I know happen to coach him when he was up in Maine. Nah, I happen to think he's the real deal because he's got I believe in his intangibles, his understanding. That's the thing that sells me about Cooper and AJ. They have strong support systems around them. We're going to get AJ to hold on. We're talking Cooper now. You've seen. Let's get Cooper. Let's get Cooper on the screen. The pride of Maine. Home also of Stephen King. That picture didn't blow up. But right, Cooper, whose mom was a hooper at Maine. Solid. If you're the best player in the gym, you got to find a new gym. Okay? and coming in this saying, that it's a lot of work. So he has that worker's mentality. Dylan Harper has a worker's mentality. Trey Johnson going to the Wizards, this draft, I just think there's talent. This is going to be a good draft, in my view. But again, I'm saying elite talent and elite work ethic together. When you have the elite talent and then the elite enjoyment of the lifestyle, the things that basketball brings you, now more and more with NIL and paying players, that's the recipe for disaster. And that's what befalls a good number of athletes. I'm preaching to the choir here as we discuss. But it's the season to discuss this, so we're discussing. We're discussing the haves and the have-nots. Cooper Flagg at the top of the haves. Okay? But what the have-nots, for me, right? Because Cooper, he's elitely, but a lot of these guys, they're talented. So the talent is comparable. Yes, Cooper is more talented. Played on a Montvert team with 4 first-round picks. Derek Queen, Liam McNeely, Asa Newell. Loaded. All right. I still have work to do. That's where and Ace Bailey is doing better. Okay. In my view, progress over perfection. It wasn't his ideal situation. You got to be a pro. You got to grow where you're planted. You're going to live a comfortable and privileged life. Okay. But you're not going to live a comfortable, privileged life exactly where you want to be every moment that you want to be there. Right. So you got to go away from home. There's certain sacrifices, right? And the things that Ace Bailey, phenomenally talented though he is articulating. Those things represent the downfall for the Stars of tomorrow. Right? Yeah, Cooper, and as far as I can see, as far as I know, as far as we've seen, Cooper Flagg is about that life. He's about that basketball life. And that's his greatest strength beyond the talent. The understanding of I still have a long way to go to get to where I want to be. And then I'm going to have to continue to work to stay at that level, that all-star level, that all-NBA level, that MVP possibly level. It's all founded on a tremendous amount of work. We'll get LeBron James on. We got plenty of LeBron. Folks, we SandCity Sports. We 2 hours and 23 minutes. We're doing what we're doing right now, folks. It is what it is. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing right now. So we definitely going over 3 tonight. So jump in, folks, if you want. I realize it's only 9:30 on the left coast. Appreciate Jamie Horton in the check-in. I have to get again. You got to see what a friend of mine told me, and I realized I've been complaining. You're giving and required, folks. If you're giving a lot, but you got responsibility, it is what it is. I want to have a lot of stuff and not be responsible for nothing. That's what I want. I want to go. Give me that good life on the cheap. I want the good life on the cheap. Don't work that way. Nope. So you got things, my passion project, what I love to do, build it up brick by brick, fortunate, connected with a lot of great people, Emmett, is in the building. Shane from Des Moines, Benito, my Maryland militia folk. Big Ben's coming on in a bit. Get up with Big Ben. But then you gotta do right. So I haven't been doing a good job of buttering my bread. So I got to go back, do the episode, but then who's going to watch 3 hours? I'm not that I sit down and watch the long form stuff. I'll go ahead and watch South Beach Sessions. Shout out to Dan Levitard and South Beach Sessions. Awesome. You know what I mean? I go ahead and jump on a Right Time, a Bomani interview. Shout out to the Right Time, Bomani. You know what I mean? Let me go ahead and get my Club Shay Shay. My Club Shay Shay Connect. But different people are different. You know what I mean? DJ Vlad, who did a little different variety. Yeah, Chris, still here. I appreciate it. Jump in. But what I was saying is I got to butter my bread. Good checking on the IG, my local Cape Cod media, where SandCity Sports began. I got to make sure that I clip the episodes and send them their copy. And then I got to do a better job of getting the clips out there, cutting this up into clips and getting those out on a consistent basis. You got a 3-hour show, so there's a lot of clips that you can get out there. So I got to do a better job on that. Okay, I'll be disciplined and get it done. But beautiful thing, we're rolling tonight. Okay, now back to the stars of tomorrow. Okay, and the elite intangibles that make the difference versus, right? So let's hold on here. We're gonna stay with Cooper, and then I'm gonna connect the point. But I'm gonna make the point relative to Cooper. Say a couple more things. Then we're gonna bring it to Arch Manning, who, I think he's a different breed because of how he has navigated. Okay, but let's stay with Cooper, who you can see got his NIL money. He's a member of the Brotherhood at Duke. Okay, so part of the reason and beyond that, Duke is able to get these one and dones. Come on and connect with both what we can offer you here, but then what we can offer you going forward. Put your money in these pools of money that we have established, frankly. So everybody's not going to be a max player. Everybody's not going to be a Jason Tatum. Everybody's going to be a Kyrie Irving and get those max deals, okay? But you can invest, right? The Brotherhood, the fraternity. Okay, now you come, Duke, we connect you with these money managers that so you can squirrel away a part of your earnings or more, whatever you want to do, and these people could take care of it. And next thing you know, you got some security, right? Like Allen Iverson, even though, hundreds of millions of dollars, but his people put away some of that money for him in a trust. So he has 20, 30, I believe I've heard as high as 50, but 20, 30, 40 minimum, 40 minimum of millions that his people put away for him that he can't touch until he gets to a certain age. Okay, there's a lot of basketball players, a lot of football players wish they had that type of situation. Right? AI's people, he had some good people that, right? And that's what all these young people do not have, by the way. But back to AI, him having a person to say, no, we're taking some of this Reebok money. It's going over here. You can't touch it. So by the time you get to 50, you got this nest egg. And then in order not to burn through that, and this is, by the way, not specific to athletes, the history teacher in me, it's amazing. Look at the robber barons or the titans of the 20th century. And a lot of those families, the Carnegies, the Vanderbilts, the Astorias, broke. Yeah, it's not just athletes. And all those families, I have not. I'll have to get specifically. I don't. Carnegie, maybe not. He gave a lot of his money away. Rockefeller was the outlier in terms of how Rockefeller looks, stepped back and said, if I just give this money to these folks, they're just going to waste it. He understood that. If I just give it to them, they're going to waste it. It, might be 3 generations. It might be, they're going to burn through it. And so his trust is set up in a way that, forget how soft, but it always, they can only get so much out of it, and then they have to invest it in A, B, C, X, Y, Z. So it's always replenishing the sum total. It's not just like, here, good luck. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for old money. It don't work for new money. Don't work for nobody. Again, in fairness to the athletes. Okay? Cooper, confident. Dylan, confident. They've navigated to this point well. We'll keep those guys on the screen. We'll come back. The youngsters need help. And it's a new Wild West. It's a new Wild West. You got these NIL agents now. NIL agents have become a part of the process for high school and college kids, where they can say, okay, I get 20%. I think an agent's fee in the NBA is like 3%. High end, 5% of the contract. There's reporting if these NIL agents are getting 10, 20% of their NIL deals. So 6, 7 times what the NBA agents get. Why do you deserve any more than that? But they're getting it. In this new economy, does that benefit the player? Absolutely not. Okay, never mind all the players that jump into the portal and don't get signed. Right? Now, don't cry for me. Speaking of soccer, Argentina. Shout out to Madonna. Right? But again, that's what don't cry for me. People aren't going to cry for you. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old when you burn through all that money. And you burn through all that NIL. Talked about the young man from St. John's that gave up $3 million or $4 million. Patino had to bench him. By the way, Patino bringing in another squadron. We got a young man from here in the Commonwealth, Josan Sanan from Fall River. Fall River, for folks that don't, everybody's not from Massachusetts, so I say these things. Fall River is going towards Providence, right? If you're on the Cape and you're heading back to the tri-state, you take 195, which hooks you up with I-95. You get I-95 in Providence and then head south down to the tri-state area. So Fall River is right there. It's the next small city before you hit Providence on your way back to the tri-state. So this young man, Joe, he's getting on that 95 heading to Jamaica, Queens to play for the Johnnies. And it's now I didn't like he was out with Bobby Hurley Jr. for Arizona State. He was doing his thing out there. And I'm a Hurley guy. I'm a St. Anthony's guy. But I happy for him going to play for Patino, get it. But I'm also happy for him because this young man is walking around now with $100,000 in his pocket. I'm happy, but I'm nervous for him and all the rest of them. Right? Because really, let's just use now, right, that NIL transfer. So he's only a sophomore. He's got, and $100,000 is, you know, okay, let's just say he signed for $1 million. His NIL before now we get to his NIL is $1 million. And let's say he gets 900,000 of that. He got $900,000 as a 20-year-old, 19-year-old sophomore. Right? What are we doing here, folks? $800,000 needs to be put away. You can't live on $100,000 as a 19-year-old college sophomore? Right? And this is one of the things, again, back to at all costs. Shout out to A-Tope. Let's get A-Tope for you on the screen as we're having this conversation. Spelled his name wrong. You can't see it, but I did. I apologize. Interested to learn more about A-Tope? Go ahead and check out At All Costs. I mean, you know him, but you don't know him. You know the Onyeka Okanyos of the world, of the Hawks. Obviously, the Evan Mobleys of the world. Many other college players. He, as Gilbert Arenas built himself up, he used to have a show, No Chill with Gil, and they went over and interviewed, as he was, now he's built, but again, he built that from scratch, and respect. But he went and did an interview at Tope's residence with the other players. Really good stuff. You can check it out. No Chill with Gil and A-Tope. But he talks about, just with these guys as they're going through the process, as a trusted advisor. And the reason I say trusted is because one thing he told Onyeka Okanyo, he's like, okay, so we're going to the Hawks. We're working it out right now. He's just living off of his endorsement money. He's not touching the contract. Not touching it at all. So we're going to get this endorsement over here. Adidas going to come through for this. Sprite, Snapple, you know what I mean? So really not a tremendous amount of money. But that's what he's living off of. That's what he's going to learn to live off of comfortably, happily. What are we doing here, folks? If you come from a blue-collar working class situation, you're going to tell me $100,000, $200,000 living off of that isn't. Never mind that Trey Young's got $50 million. Let Trey be Trey over there. You be rookie over here. Yes, when you're too young to go to the club in the first place. But yes, when you go out to these social places, everybody wants to, you know what I mean, floss and do all of that stuff. You want to do the champagne campaign stuff. Okay? In moderation, but you see what I'm saying. But it makes no sense to anybody except the the businesses you're patronizing to live like this. I had a quote unquote senior moment where there's all this reporting about Jeff Bezos and his wedding, and that he spent $40 million, and people are going crazy. And oh my goodness, Jeff Bezos, and this is unbelievable. And I have to go back decades now. For me, because I remember when I got home from college and I saw a similar thing where somebody spent $1 million on a wedding, and I was just repulsed at the time. I thought it was the worst thing in human, not the worst thing, but I just thought it was so decadent and awful, was my view firmly when I first came home from college. Same thing. Now, Jeff Bezos is, let's just say he spent $50 million on his Venice wedding, shut down the city of Venice for 3 days and spent $50 million. Now, I say that's incredible for the city of Venice. That's $50 million that goes into their economy. Because, by the way, Jeff Bezos is worth $200+ billion. And that's after he split his fortune with his wife, Mackenzie, who is a philanthropist, a committed philanthropist, talking about the billionaire class and, Occupy Wall Street and all this other things. And sure, there's stuff to be said there. But the point there is that I'm making 2 points. First of all, some billionaires give away billions and billions to all these causes as they're continuing to build up their fortune. You could say Bill Gates is in that category. He's interesting in terms of his foundation, so on and forth. But the Jeff Bezos narrative, which is current, and my view now versus my view then was just, you're just wasting 50, you're just throwing away 50 where it could go to starving kids wherever, but now I understand that 50 million, that's 50 million, all those businesses in Venice, right, that are propping up, they're getting that money. So it is an example of trickle-down economics, an actual example, not the money being stashed away in some fund in some tax shelter, who knows where. Now, that money is actually going into an economy. People are going to work. People are going to get, their wages, tips, so on and forth. That's an actual example. All right, what does that have to do with the NBA? The NBA rookies, that's not you to be doing that. The 14-year-olds, that's not you to be doing that. You don't do trickle-down economics with your NIL deal. Okay? Because you're not even rich. You're just paid. You're not yet rich. Right? Trae Young is rich with his max deal. He's not even wealthy. He's just rich. LeBron James, when you get to $1 billion, now you are wealthy. And how long did it take Michael Jordan and LeBron James to get to billionaire status? And that right there is what this is all about. ATOP is doing it the right way, showing these prospects that are going to make it to the NBA how they have to conduct themselves once they make it to the NBA. It's a great, hold on, I keep saying great. It's past due that players are making the money that they deserve based on the revenue of sports. But simply having the money versus understanding how to invest the money are night and day different. And that's where the conversation needs to go. Jaylen Brown has been on this, not just talking about the wealth gap, not just talking about Black Wall Street, not just investing in his community. We'll get this for you. He works with the Bridge program here in Boston, or not here because it's on the Cape, but which is tremendous. If the Celtics can win some more championships, hope they do. Jaylen Brown has the Bridge program participate. The school buses are a part of the parade. We'll get that for you so you can see it. Right? This is how JB's getting down. This is why we need JB to stay. to continue contributing on and off the court.
Down right there. Yes. His Juice Foundation supported the Bridge group, who basically have won tickets, Bridge students, to be on the boat with him. These are community kids who get to now stand beside Jaylen Brown as he moves through the crowd and experiences wonderful.
Run it back.
Down right there. Yes. His Juice Foundation supported the Bridge group, who basically have won tickets, Bridge students, to be on the boat with him. These are community kids who get to now stand beside Jaylen Brown as he moves through the crowd and experiences wonderful.
Again.
Down right there. Yeah.
That's JB, his family. When we had parades, when we had teams to win championships, and that's the kids from BPS, Boston Public Schools, who he's very present with, as well as at our leading universities, MIT, Tufts, etc. Okay? Talking about connecting people to opportunities, doing it the right way. All right? So this is the other side of the child phenom mode that we're going into. Middle of this week is jumping off. And it's a brave new world. It's a brave new world. Okay, so I went there. And again, go ahead and check out At All Costs. It just touches on you need adults. Adults are needed as going through at every hold. The kid is the player, but they need to be held accountable. They need, it's just. Or we can just say, well, they're really talented in one thing, so everything else is going to work. It's going to work out for itself. You're swimming with the sharks. You're swimming with the sharks at that point in time. If you just bank on the one competency, which is athletics, and then think all the other components, which is, and that never mind just development as a person, right? You're not, and I talk to folks, family members and friends, it's not, how did I say this? It's not the fact that they're a good basketball player who happens to be your son or daughter. They're your son or daughter that happens to be a good basketball player. Okay? That's the progression. Not a good basketball player that happens to be your son or daughter that happens to be a good basketball player or baseball player or whatever the case may be. Right? You, parent, family member, you know them. You understand they need A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and there's just no two ways about it. Okay? You're not 24 when you're 14. You're 14. You don't know what you don't know. Okay? And steps and not skipping them is the way to get there. Interestingly enough, I go here and it's talking about youth development. Okay, I can't go there just yet. But let's get Arch on the screen. To conclude this. Then we'll go to our slice of life. Right? Okay, so Arch Manning, we're hearing about the $6 million average salary. That's just NIL. Never mind what, you can get paid from the school as well. He is the most notable prospect at, Texas. May not have won all these national championships, but college football isn't bigger anywhere else than, on Station Avenue in Austin. Here's what it comes down to for me. Arch Manning, who was, and people seem to have forgotten this, maybe, the phenom coming out of high school. Clear number one, chip off the old block, sensation. Okay? He goes to Texas. They got Quinn Ewers. He agrees to sit his freshman year. The family's in agreement. Arch is in agreement. There's no conversation about who is the better NFL prospect between Quinn Ewers, respectfully, and Arch Manning. Quinn Ewers is not going to be a number one overall pick. Arch Manning, goes through, barring injury, all the rest of that stuff, is going to be a number one overall pick. And so what I'm saying is Quinn Ewers might have been better to start. I mean, I don't know. If you could have had it play out, it might have been a Bryant to Trevor Lawrence situation at Clemson. But he didn't force the issue. I'm here to learn and to get better. That's what he does his freshman year, folks. Sophomore year, Quinn Ewers comes back. Oh, okay, so now Arch says, I will continue. Whatever's best for the team. You want to go? Whatever's best for the team. Yes, he came in when Ewers went down. He got some games in. Ewers came back. They went with Ewers. And now, junior year, this is the first that we're going to get a chance to see Arch cook. Folks, I'm clear. Arch Manning is a better quarterback than Quinn Ewers. He is. And if it's not right in this moment, then he can learn on the fly. And he will get better and be better. No disrespect to Quinn Ewers. Good quarterback. Yada, yada. He's not better than Arch Manning. And whatever lead he had, to me, if you would have just let Arch play and learn, that gap would have closed. And Arch would have equaled and exceeded him. They could have did it that way. Instead, this young man has essentially been holding a clipboard for 2 years. Learning from the sidelines. Learning in practice. Undercover. And he and they are fine with it. I think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy this year. I think he is going to torch college football. Check these receipts. Arch Manning is going to run wild this season. He's going to light college football ablaze. I said it. I'm not backing down off that take no matter what happens. But that notwithstanding, that's just one. And yes, he can get his NIL money this year. He can get he doesn't have to go to the pros. He can honestly stay and come, and really come in. It's going to be an adjustment, but honestly, he can, I keep saying honestly. His college career can mirror Peyton's and Eli, staying Certainly Peyton could have left. He stayed for that next year, the great Heisman Trophy race, which he ended up losing to Charles Woodson. You know, and then there's going to be a transition when you get in the NFL. There's no two ways about it. So Peyton obviously starting from day one, first year, so and then the MVPs just started raining down after that. Bottom line, they trusted the process, did not rush, did not skip steps. And so he is walking the same line as a redshirt, as a walk-on, with his elite talent. I'm not skipping steps. I'm doing it and combining my talent with these 5-star intangibles. Twofold. First of all, this is the blueprint for the 14-year-old NIL athlete, the 15-year-old NIL athlete. You do it this way, you're going to be successful. Does that mean you have to sit out 2 years? And no. But you do have to commit yourself to the actual process that's going to develop you into a professional, sustainable talent. You do need to do that. So, Arch is my, he sets the standard in terms of how to navigate the world of NIL and pay for play in a way that continues to prioritize development and longevity. I see Arch having success this year. He can make, with the brave new world we're living, he can essentially make an NFL salary, which Texas will happily pay him to stay another year. Or you can be the number 1 pick in this upcoming draft. So you can be an NFL player at Texas in 2026, or you can be an NFL player in the NFL. He's positioned, but still develop. I think that if he decides to stay at Texas, then that's just going to alleviate. I think that he'll just come in and be all pro as a rookie. If he goes back to Texas for a 4th year, I think I'm saying Arch Manning will be a Pro Bowler in 2027 in the NFL. If he goes to the NFL, then he'll have a year of adjustment before becoming a Pro Bowl level player. But he waited his turn when he was already first in line. Wild. Okay, but again, as they say, right? What do people say? You play the short game or you play the long game? Me? Impatient. Nope. I ain't finna wait. I'm annoyed. I'm aggravated. I got to have it. I got to know. Can't. I need a deal. I need something to happen right now. I need, Okay. Arch Mannings of the world. Speaking of Mr. Bezos and the $50 million that he spent in Venice. Right? All those years where Amazon was losing money as he was a quirky book salesman online. Yeah, Chris, why didn't Arch go to, that's not the Manning way. Is why, I think. Mannings are about, you're gonna, these are the roots, these are your roots, your local high school, and we're doing it the old school way. Right? All the way to the father. You know how the father kind of came up through the ranks, and then, the sons were obviously all very talented and could have done the same thing before, this is before the NIL revolution, so it was different, but, so Peyton, Eli, forget what the brother's name that got injured. His name is Arch's dad's name escapes me, who was supposed to be just as good, if not better. So the book of Manning, Chris, to your point, is step by step by step. That's just how they're built, and it's proven itself in spades with Arch. He's the heir. I mean, NFL scouts. I mean, everybody. You're already hearing the talk. The March for Arch, like these NFL teams, they know. They know. They haven't lost track of the fact of how special he is. But how they have said, no, you're going to Texas and you're going to redshirt. Unheard of. Or you're going to sit behind Quinn Ewers. And then to do it a second year, just, but this is all that training. He's just gotten that much better, as essentially a backup. Do I think he needed to do it for 2 years? No. But again, like Patrick Mahomes didn't come in and start from day one. Tom Brady didn't come in and start from day one. They needed a redshirt year. So taking the summer one single day at a time. I'm not letting anything slip past. That said, I am excited for the college football season, specifically for Arch Manning. Excited for Dion. Getting back healthy, first and foremost. Seeing if anybody has anything out there in television land. We're moving and grooving. Appreciate the people that's checked in on the socials. Means a lot. But let's move to our slice of life now. We're going to talk slice of life. A lot to get to. Did that. I did save that. It was on. Okay. I had the Stephen King selection. It just happened to be. Okay. Let's stay with the preps. Trey Johnson, folks. This is a deep draft class. NBA comparison is Ray Allen.
Johnson, what do you think of him?
He's a bucket. I mean, talk about 6'6". He reminds me of Ray Allen, but you look at his game, his ability to move off the ball, shoot the three, his ability to use shot fake, get in the lane. I mean, the guy is a world-class three-point shooter, has terrific footwork, can play off the bounce, can shoot the three. I mean, if you look at his measurables in the shooting drills, he was absolutely off the charts. His ability to make shots makes him plug and play ready. If you look at right here, Trey Johnson, 73% in the drills off the dribble. On spot-up threes, 68% three-point shooting overall. All right, 64%. His shot-making ability, his ability to play off the ball, his ability to attack closeouts and have a middle game, that dude is a match-up problem. Reminds me of Ray Allen.
About Texas guard Trey Johnson. What do you think of him?
Let's watch him in some game action. This is against Cooper Flag and Montvert. Montvert's team. There's Cooper. Run that back real quick as we get the next clip. It's a deep draft class. They deep. Deep. Another young man. Chris brought him up. Carter Bryant. Talking about process.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think one thing I just want to bring is the physicality to the defensive side of the ball, being able to guard multiple positions, know guys' tendencies, being able to keep them in front of me, guard multiple actions and make multiple efforts, I think is a big thing for me because, like, everybody wants to score the ball, but, like, how do I separate myself? How do I get those early minutes? How do I find myself on the floor? So I think defense in terms of that is just something I could do to get on the floor.
That's your music to your ears, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's your forte.
Yeah, I think one thing I just want to bring is the physicality to the defensive side of the ball, being able to guard multiple positions, know guys' tendencies, being able to keep them in front of me, guard multiple actions and make multiple efforts, I think is a big thing for me because, like, everybody wants to score the ball, but, like, how do I separate myself? How do I get those early minutes? How do I find myself on the floor? So I think defense in terms of that is just something I could do to get on the floor.
That's your music to your
The Spurs are the Thunder 2.0. Other people might have said it. They got Castle. They got Harper. This kid Bryant. And they got Wemby. Is anybody 22 in that list? The Spurs. This is, I mean, you want to talk about character, skill set. Spurs are going to be a force next year. And I know that the young Lions, it's going to take them time, but they got Wemby and they got De'Aaron Fox to lead the charge. I would bring back Chris Paul, as for leadership. Spurs have scary young talent. A couple teams in the league. Washington, dumpster fire though they may be, they got a collection of young bulls. Again, staying.
Do you still talk to young guys about business and about establishing their portfolio and establishing their business circles while they're at the highest level of attention with the NBA as the platform?
Yes, I do.
What are you telling them?
The access that you have now to intellect and to CEOs while you're playing. Every city that you go to, you should make it a point to reach out to the top 2-3 CEOs in that city, invite them to the game, have lunch with them, and see if they give you some advice. That's what I did, for years in the NBA. So when I got out of the NBA, I had a advisory board, so to speak. And while you're playing, your celebrity it gives you access. Your celebrity creates deal flow, and you can use your celebrity for deal flow. So that means you get a chance to look at some of the best deals that come in, but you have to have a pretty sharp group behind you that can let you know, this is one we can look at, this is one we can't look at. And so I still help a lot of young guys, right?
Do you still talk to young guys about business and about establishing their portfolio and establishing their business circles while they're at the highest level of attention with the NBA as the platform?
Yes, I do.
What are you talking about?
The access that you have now to intellect and to CEOs while you're playing. Every city that you go to, you should make it a point to reach out to the top 2-3 CEOs in that city, invite them to the game, have lunch with them, and see if they give you some advice. That's what I did, for years in the NBA. So when I got out of the NBA, I had a advisory board, so to speak. And while you're playing, your celebrity it gives you access. Your celebrity creates deal flow, and you can use your celebrity for deal flow. So that means you get a chance to look at some of the best deals that come in, but you have to have a pretty sharp group behind you that can let you know, this is one we can look at, this is one we can't look at. And so I still help a lot of young guys, right? The access that you have now to
again, with this conversation we're having about sustainability, managing your assets. So that's coming from all-time great. Does not really get his flowers like he needs to because of the controversy. We talk about the controversy with Jordan not being on the Dream Team. You go ahead and, we talk about Larry and Magic and Michael in the 80s. Isaiah in the 80s. He didn't get his championship to the end of the decade because, again, he's fighting through Larry and Magic and, Dr. J, other, but 80s Isaiah Thomas, arguably the best player under 6'2" in NBA history, just monster. And then you take a look at his story coming from the west side of Chicago. He talks about his story to get to where he was at. So much to offer. But what he just laid out there, I mean, he's given the blueprint. Instead of resting on your laurels and being out there spending, developing that network, developing those connections, who very strong from an all-time great. One more, we're talking about preps. This is cool because Marcus Spears is a really good guy on ESPN. Does a great job. But his son, and who's going to be at Pete's Jam, he looking like a pro to me. $6'9". Oh. see Jermaine O'Neal on the sidelines. We'll stop it there. You're going to be hearing from him. As is clear, 6'9", came into another mango season. So, woo! Marcus Spears Jr. It's going to be some waves at the Jam this year. Going to be some waves. Switch gears. Okay. Talk about the process.
Myself. Because when you really got your back against the wall in that dark room all alone, all you got is yourself. Ain't nobody gonna come save you this lifetime but yourself.
That's real.
I don't give a damn who you crying to. Ain't nobody gonna come save you, not this lifetime, but yourself. You the only one that could do it. Everything else, you know what I'm saying, is most definitely inspiration, but you got to do it for yourself before you can help anybody. Because if you ain't on your A game, you useless to anybody else. It got to be myself. Because when you really got your back against the wall in that dark room all alone, all you got is yourself. Ain't nobody gonna come save you this lifetime but yourself.
That's real.
I don't give a damn who you crying to. Ain't nobody gonna come save you, not this lifetime, but yourself. You the only one that could do it. Everything else, you know what I'm saying, is most definitely inspiration, but you got to do it for yourself before you can help anybody. Because if you ain't on your A game, you useless to anybody else. Because if you ain't on your A game, you
Facts. Tyreek Hill in the building. Had a couple. Saw one. Let's stay on that same thread. Okay.
Percentage of people that get back up after a fall is very small. Because some people fall and they go, I'm just going to lay here because falling hurts, right?
Yeah.
There's only a couple people that get up and just dust the shit off and go, I'm still going to go. It's not a coincidence why those people win, right? Like, it's not an accident why winners win. Winners win because of persistence.
Yes.
Winners win because of consistency,
Yep.
right? And being diligent about the thing or the choice that they made to be the thing. Like, it's all a choice.
Yeah.
But so many people break along the way. So what I find the most success is just knowing that not many people can continue to get up day after day and do the things that I do. So that's why I'm able to do it and shine in the lows.
Yeah.
If you embrace the lows and you clap when you're in the low. It's a bigger reward getting out of it. Just dust the shit off and go, I'm still going to go. It's not a coincidence why those people win, right? Like, it's not an accident why winners win. Winners win because of persistence.
Yes.
Winners win because of consistency,
Yep.
right? And being diligent about the thing or the choice that they made to be the thing. Like, it's all a choice.
Yeah.
But so many people break along the way. So what I find the most success is just knowing that not many people can continue to get up day after day and do the things that I do. So that's why I'm able to do it and shine in the lows.
Yeah.
If you embrace the lows and you clap when you're in the low. It's a bigger reward getting out of it. The percentage of people that get
Clap in a low. So good amount of free game, a lot of things there from Kevin Hart. But one of the things for me that resonates, that I think about, Kevin Hart is what I understand. Like, he lives on the road. He's a 20 million a movie man, and people, right? There's a lot of things going on, right? There's competition out there. There's always competition, and people say this about this person, that about that person. And I get it to a certain extent, but at certain, then it has to kind of just, people need to do their craft, make their art, be successful, and just move on. But remember Kevin Hart just talking about his process where, I might have this movie lined up for 20 million, but I'm still working on my next act on the road in anonymity that you don't know about so that I can stay sharp to be where I need to be. And another, so he kind of spoke to that. Great example for me along those same lines is also Jay Leno, who for years never spent his NBC money. And he was getting that Johnny Carson money. But he wouldn't touch that. He just lived off of what he made from stand-up, which was 6 figures. But, people know Jay Leno, he's a car fanatic, has a car for every day of the year, allegedly and supposedly. Well, that's how he was able to do that. I'm just living off the stand-up money. I'm not touching these 50s and, whatever, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars that he accrued as, the late night anchor for NBC for many years. Kevin Hart clapping during the lows. Few more talking about JB.
You talked about how you spent $500,000, you feel me, on your biohacking. Let's start with how deep it goes in your philosophy, you know what I'm saying, of taking care of yourself.
Taking care of your body is taking care of your mind as well, like alleviating stress, traveling. I mean, when I include that number, you see that number, that includes like vacations, going places to disconnect. I've been in Boston for 10 years. I've been myself the entire 10. But with that comes a lot of intense pressure, and it comes with a lot of intense, people feel uncomfortable by the way I'm moving. And I understand that. Like through the media, through the fans, through maybe organization, etc. Because I walk as me. It makes things extremely hard to carry at times where I gotta be a certain way. Some of you see stuff where Clips are talking about stoicism, to adopt that to survive here. Because I would have big crashed out. Talk about that. I think like just having peace of mind is underrated. Like I get like it's war, you know what I mean? It's going to be that. I signed up for that, but you gotta take the time to kind of recharge at times as well.
Run it back.
Now, recently, you talked about how you spent $500,000, you feel me, on your biohacking. Let's start with how deep it goes in your philosophy, you know what I'm saying, of taking care of yourself.
Taking care of your body is taking care of your mind as well, like alleviating stress, traveling. I mean, when I include that number, you see that number, that includes like vacations, going places to disconnect. I've been in Boston for 10 years. I've been myself the entire 10. But with that comes a lot of intense pressure, and it comes with a lot of intense, people feel uncomfortable by the way I'm moving. And I understand that. Like through the media, through the fans, through maybe organization, etc. Because I walk as me. It makes things extremely hard to carry at times where I gotta be a certain way. Some of you see stuff where Clips are talking about stoicism, to adopt that to survive here. Because I would have big crashed out. Talk about that. I think like just having peace of mind is underrated. Like I get like it's war, you know what I mean? It's going to be that. I signed up for that.
Capitalism.
But you gotta take the time to kind of recharge at times as well.
Yes, sir. JB, very strong. That's why we need him in the Commonwealth. No lies detected there. We got, did I skip it? Okay, let's get it. Again, talking about the process, talking about the journey. Very strong from JB. Some strong stuff tonight. Respect all these people, their platform strong.
J-Dub, Jalen Williams. Start with you at Santa Clara.
Yeah. So mid to Santa Clara. It's my freshman year there. I'm not doing well. Me and my roommate are going through it. A guy named Shaquille, very good player, and had a great career at Northeastern. So we're at Santa Clara. We end up transferring after our freshman year. And my first coach in the Gauchos was a guy named Paul Subert. Guy's been in grassroots AAU forever, been around all top players, known guy. So I would always follow him on Facebook, and he would talk to me and talk to my dad, and he would show me the players he's coaching. Throughout those pictures, I would see a kid named his height. This is Jalen Williams, and no one knows him yet. So Jalen's 2 years younger than me. So it's my sophomore year. I'm seeing the players they're bringing in. Don't think I'm naturally hating because, just transferred. I'm like, not good. And then the kid they signed, Jalen Williams. Now I'm going to my redshirt sophomore year. He's going to his freshman year. Shaq, the kid I replaced, if you look them up, they're both 6'6", long arms, can handle the ball and pass. Jalen Williams obviously developed a 3, but like Shaq is very good. And if you saw them, you'd be like, okay, yeah, That makes sense. Not saying Shaq would have been Jalen Williams, but they wanted Shaq to stay. And Shaq said, nah, I'm out. Shaq leaves. 2 years later, Jalen comes in. But what I'm trying to say, and the reason why I say that's important or that makes sense is because Jalen Williams came into Santa Clara and he averaged like 8. I think his stats were his next year it's like 12, and then he makes the jump to 20. You don't make that jump without playing, reps, and confidence, in my opinion. And if Jalen comes his freshman year and like this kid Shaquille, if you look up his stats, he was a all conference team in the CAA, averaged like 11-6. He's a very good player. Imagine he stays Santa Clara, and that's a 3-year developed Shaq. That's possibly.
But then Jalen Williams has to sit behind him.
So the hypothesis I'm saying is, does Jalen develop like that if he is an all conference?
He might not
player?
even go to Santa Clara.
He might never go to Santa Clara.
Your situation means so much in basketball. J-Dub, Jalen Williams, start with US Santa Clara. You had
Yeah. So mid to Santa Clara. It's my freshman year there. I'm not doing well. Me and my roommate are going through it. Guy named Shaquille, very good player, and had a great career at Northeastern. So we're at Santa Clara. We end up transferring after our freshman year. And my first coach in the Gauchos was a guy named Paul Suber. Guy's been in grassroots AAU forever, been around all top players, known guy. So I would always follow him on Facebook, and he would talk to me and talk to my dad, and he would show me the players he's coaching. Throughout those pictures, I would see a kid named his height. This is Jalen Williams, and no one knows him yet. So Jalen's 2 years younger than me. So it's my sophomore year. I'm seeing the players they're bringing in. I see
Got the point there. Situation also, I mean, have to look that player up himself, see how he did at Northeastern. Fits and butts were candy and nuts. We'd all have a Merry Christmas. Jalen goes from 8 to 12 to 20. He waited 3 years. His third year, he balled. But he wasn't storming out of there his first year or his second year. So he, to me, he took his time, waited his turn. And was ready when his number was called. Let's finish on a positive note, a historical note. As we get up and out of here, see if anybody has something as we conclude Slice of Life. Hey, it's summertime. The boys are summer. Thank you, Jackie Robinson. Talented athlete, period. .2 yards per attempt. Football, basketball, and baseball. All right. Talk about luck. It's when talent meets opportunity. Certainly ready. Change the game of baseball, change the United States writ large. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie Robinson. And thank you, everybody that's rocking with us. Summer edition. SandCity Sports. Yes, indeed. Appreciate you.